Chapter 90. After some intense bargaining, Matsushima Ki, on behalf of the Wu Rin investigation team, accepted the many requests of assistance from Rosefinch Senior High School. Finally, the matter was temporarily put to rest. According to the usual rules, when the investigation team finished their work and was ready to return home, Rosefinch Secondary would host a cocktail party to welcome them. At the same time, it was also a farewell party. At this time, not only would Vice Principal Lu Chaoga, who was in charge of the reception, be present, but Rosefinch Secondary's principal Zhang Xiaofeng and other senior leaders and board members would also attend the cocktail party. However, after this incident, how could the Wu Rin investigation team still have the mood to attend such a banquet? They tried to reject it, but Rosefinch Secondary insisted. It was difficult to refuse such hospitality, so they could only put aside their worries and dress up to attend. Originally, Fang Yan was not qualified to attend this cocktail party. He was just an ordinary teacher at Rosefinch Secondary who had just been promoted from probation. He did not have any rank in the school. If a teacher like him could attend the cocktail party, they would probably have to prepare a hall that could accommodate hundreds of people. However, because he was one of the main receptionists for the Wu Rin investigation team, and the students from Class 9 led by him had the upper hand in the competition with the Wu Rin investigation team, winning 3 out of 3 matches, even a leader like Li Ziqiang, who was extremely dissatisfied with Fang Yan, felt that he should invite Fang Yan over on such a day to reward him. In the past, most of the matches between Rosefinch and Wu Rin were evenly matched. Sometimes they would even lose more than they won. They had never been suppressed like this, so much so that they could not even show their faces. Therefore, Fang Yan became the most relaxed person at the cocktail party. Everyone else was busy exchanging pleasantries and drinking or saying goodbye reluctantly. Only Fang Yan was not loved by anyone. Those who were of a high enough rank were not willing to get close to him. Those who were not of a high enough rank were the students from the Wu Rin investigation team. They could not wait to surround Fang Yan and beat him up. Who would be willing to come up and drink with him? A person's loneliness was not loneliness. If you still felt lonely standing in the middle of a crowd, it meant that you were not popular. Fang Yan decided not to be a cheapskate anymore. Cheapskates have no friends. He sat alone in the corner of the hall, holding a glass of wine and thinking. "Sorry to disturb you," Chiba Kori said gently as she stood in front of Fang Yan. She didn't speak well in Wuxia, and Fang Yan didn't understand Japanese, so she could only speak in English. Fang Yan looked up at the beautiful Japanese girl and asked, "What's the matter?" "I'm here to apologize to you on behalf of Chiba Haomu," said Chiba Kori. "I know that there's a custom in Wuxia to apologize with wine." She turned around and took a glass of red wine from the tray the waiter was holding and said, "I'll drink to apologize." She held the glass with both hands and drank the red wine in one gulp. Then she put down the empty glass, took another glass of red wine and drank it again. After 3 glasses, she wiped the wine off the corner of her mouth with a handkerchief. She looked at Fang Yan and said, "I hope you can accept Chiba Haomu's apology." "I don't accept it," said Fang Yan. Chiba Kori looked at Fang Yan in surprise. She didn't understand what he meant. "First, we in Wuxia do have a custom of drinking to apologize, but it's mainly done among our colleagues and friends. Does Chiba Haomu think of us as friends? Second, we drink with white wine. A large glass of white wine. Is a sip of red wine an apology? This is your apology, not Chiba Haomu's apology. I believe that a guy who stabbed his opponent after a duel won't repent so easily, right? I think he hates me even more now. That's my guess. I don't care if you believe it or not, but I do. Of course, I have nothing to fear. If he dares to come, I'll just beat him up again." And the fourth. Actually, I only like to say 3 things because it sounds more complete. Adding a 4th thing feels a little out of place. Don't doubt that I'm a Virgo. You're not only here to drink to apologize but also for something else, right? Chiba Kori's breathing quickened. Her eyes widened unnaturally as she stared at Fang Yan. Everyone in the investigation team said that Wuxia was treacherous and cunning, and it seemed to be true. His eyes were always smiling as if there was nothing he didn't know. Fang Yan picked up the glass and took a sip of the juice. He looked up at Chiba Kori and said, "So what's your purpose? Fight? You can't beat me. You're not that kind of person and neither am I. Threatening me before leaving doesn't seem to have any meaning." Fang Yan suddenly felt a little embarrassed. "Are you here to be friends with me? That must be it. One must know that women's desire to compare themselves with others was very strong. She lost to Qin Etian in the tea ceremony, so she must be very angry. They were both proud and arrogant girls, so why was she stronger than them? Coincidentally, she heard rumors that Qin Etian liked her, so she wanted to be the first to conquer her. That way she would be able to surpass Qin Etian. So what if you're good at making tea? So what if you have a strong aura? I still got the boy you like first. Fang Yan was very angry. What did they think he was? Hearing Fang Yan's words, Chiba Kori became very embarrassed. She looked at Fang Yan and said, I just want to tell you on behalf of Chiba Haomu. He will definitely defeat you. He will defeat you fair and square. I like idiots who can't beat others but like to look forward to the future. It's as if he can't beat me now but he can beat me in the future. Since he has this intention, I have no reason not to help him. Which ward is he staying in? I'll give him a chance to defeat me fair and square. He's a guest, so I can't let him leave with regrets. Sensei Fang Yan, I'm not talking about now. Chiba Kori felt that she couldn't communicate with Fang Yan. What she meant was to give Chiba Haomu some confidence and more motivation. She would tell Chiba Haomu that she had already challenged Fang Yan on his behalf. Moreover, she would tell Chiba Haomu that she had predicted his victory in front of Fang Yan, who said that the competition was going to start now. When is that? Fang Yan asked. When Chiba Haomu steps on Wuxia's soil again. Chiba Kori said. She knew that if Chiba Haomu didn't have the confidence to defeat Fang Yan, he probably wouldn't step on Wuxia's soil again. Fang Yan shook his head and said, It seems that the initiative is in Chiba Haomu's hands. If he can't beat me and hides in some Japanese village, where will I go to find him? You are insulting a swordsman's desire to win, Chiba Kori said. I'm short-sighted. Why don't I go and let him beat me up now? Not far away, Vice Headmaster Matsushima Ki, who was drinking and chatting with Lu Chaoga, saw Fang Yan and Chiba Kori in the corner. He immediately frowned and whispered to Saburo Fujino, who was beside him, Chiba Kori and Fang Yan are together. Hurry up and go take a look. Don't let Chiba Kori get bullied. Seeing that, Saburo Fujino was greatly shocked and he quickly moved toward the two of them. Fire Theft and Fang Yan. This was the consensus of the Wu Ren inspection team. This is an unforgettable trip for me. Matsushima Ki stood on the tea stage and gave a speech. This was the usual procedure of a cocktail party. She looked at the crowd below the stage with a solemn expression and said, I have led groups to over 20 countries and participated in nearly 100 exchange and inspection activities. However, none of them have been as shocking and thought-provoking as this one. Yes, I have been reflecting on it for the past few days. I have been reflecting on our mentality, our attitude, and more importantly, what is Wu Ren lacking? Wu Ren is a top-notch school in Japan, and its students are all favored by the heavens. Thus, be it Wu Ren's teachers or students, we are filled with pride and a sense of accomplishment. Pride is not wrong and achievement is not wrong. But the mistake is that while we maintain our pride, we lose the modesty and respect for our friends. Not only are we outstanding, our friends are also outstanding. Rosefinch Secondary has proven this point with its 3 victories. The culture of the Tang dynasty is in Japan. Many people say that. Sometimes even I feel proud of it. I thought that it was us, Japan, who had preserved and developed the culture of the Tang dynasty in Wuxia. We have a heart that cherishes and passes down our traditional culture. However, this time I found out that it is not the case. We package our culture and display its essence to the world. However, this culture has been integrated into the lives of the people of Wuxia. This is too common for them. However, when there is a challenge, when the country needs it, countless outstanding people will step forward, to fight for dignity, to fight for victory. We have witnessed all of this with our own eyes. We have lost. We have lost our dignity, Matsushima Ki said with incomparable honesty. We have also won. Me, my students, and every member of our Wu Ren inspection team, we have learned to reflect. We have a humble and unyielding determination. I believe in my students. I believe in my colleagues. I will bring back the defeat of these 3 matches as the greatest gift. The applause was thunderous. Sitting on the plane to Japan, all the members of the Wu Ren inspection team heaved a sigh of relief. Wuxia is too scary, someone said. That's right. Chiba Haomu is invincible, but he was defeated by them. Any random teacher is so powerful. Is their school full of such masters? Chapter 91. The happiest person was Tangqing when the Wuren investigation team left. He jumped up from the bed excitedly and said, "They really left? Qinya Hawu left too?" "They left." Qin Etian sat on the chair and was peeling an apple in her hand. Her movements were very skillful and the whole piece of apple skin became a piece. It looked very beautiful as it hung in the air. "That's great. If Qinya Hawu is fine, I won't have to lie in bed for half a year," Tangqing said happily. He had been worrying about this matter for the whole day yesterday. If Qinya Hawu really stayed in Wuxia and didn't leave, then his life would be ruined. He did not want to spend his youth lying in bed in a vegetative state. He did not expect that in just one day Qinya Hawu would return to the country and Qin Etian, whom he could not forget, would take the initiative to visit him. Was there anything more blissful than this? Half a year. Qin Etian raised his eyebrows and quickly understood. "Fang Yan asked you to do it?" Fang Yan sensei was worried that they would go back on their word. "So you guys decided to go back on your word first?" "I did not." Tangqing quickly explained. He was worried that Qin Etian would think that he was a dishonest boy who liked to play tricks. He said, "Sensei Fang Yan asked me to do it. Saved me. I had to do it." "Fighting poison with poison is indeed a good idea," Qin Etian said. "At least this is the best way to deal with those who do not keep their word." Tangqing felt a little upset in his heart. Why was Qin Etian always praising Fang Yan's teacher when it came to him? She was not a girl who liked to praise others. He wanted to ask what the relationship between Qin Etian and Fang Yan was, but he could not bring himself to ask. It was rare for them to be so harmonious, and he did not want to ruin the atmosphere at this moment. After peeling the apple, the peel fell into the trash can on the ground. Tangqing said pitifully, "Be careful not to cut your hand. If I want to eat it, I can do it myself." Qin Etian took a bite of the apple and chewed on the crisp and sweet flesh. He looked at Tangqing and asked, "What did you say?" Tangqing swallowed his saliva and said, I say this apple tastes good, right?" Dong dong, there was a knock on the door. Tangqing shouted, "Please come in." Two girls in Rosefinch's uniforms stood at the door with a bouquet in their hands. Their faces were red as they said, "Student Tangqing, we heard that you were injured, so we came to see you." When they saw Qin Etian sitting in front of the window in the ward, they hurriedly greeted Qin Etian and said, "Senior Sister Etian is here too." This was already the 20th batch of girls who had come to visit Tangqing in the past 2 days. Some came alone, some came in groups, and some came in groups. Tangqing, the most handsome boy in Rosefinch, was indeed very charming. This time, after he seriously injured a kendo master sent by Japan, his reputation was pushed to an unprecedented height. They sent flowers, apples, and all kinds of gifts. The apple that Qin Etian ate was given by them. Qin Etian smiled and nodded at them. He stood up from the chair and said to Tangqing, "I still have something to do, so I'll leave you in the care of my junior sisters." She took another bite of the apple. "What are you going to do?" Tangqing asked hurriedly. He hoped that Qin Etian would stay and take care of him the most. No, it was fine for him to take care of Qin Etian. Qin Etian thought about it and said, "I'm going to sleep. I seem a little sleepy." "Senior Sister Etian, take care." The two girls standing at the door greeted her respectfully. It wasn't until Qin Etian's figure was far away that they felt the suffocating feeling disappear. "Classmate Tangqing, are you okay?" The girls laughed and surrounded him. "Sorry." Tangqing looked at them and said, "Can you peel an apple for me?" "Of course, no problem," the girls said happily. After all, not everyone had the opportunity to peel an apple for the most handsome boy in school. As soon as Fang Yan appeared at the door of Lu Chaoga's office, the secretary Xiao Meng, who was sitting at the front desk, exclaimed, "Ah, Fang Yan." As soon as she shouted, the people in the surrounding offices all craned their heads to look over. "He's Fang Yan? He looks so young. He knows martial arts? He doesn't look like it, but he's quite handsome. It's my favorite dish. He's the one who beat up the Japanese. Like that. I heard that person is very powerful in Japan." After 2 days of adaptation, Fang Yan was already used to this kind of discussion. If the exchange competition with the Wuren investigation team caused Tangqing's popularity to soar, then Fang Yan really became famous after this battle. Not only did he save Tang Qing at the critical moment, he even beat up Qianye Haowu in front of everyone, causing everyone's eyes to pop out of their sockets. Now the students of Class 9 walked on campus with their heads held high. Regardless of whether people asked, they would take the initiative to say, "Don't mess with me, our teacher knows martial arts." Fang Yan, this teacher who had just come to Rosefinch Secondary for a short period of time, had refreshed people's understanding of him and his own limits time and time again. Fang Yan waved his hand at everyone and said, "Go back. Everyone go back. I'm just an ordinary person. It's enough to watch for a few minutes. Don't let it affect your work." "You're not ordinary at all," Xiaomeng said with a red face. "I saw it with my own eyes. You're amazing." Xiaomeng was Lu Chaoga's secretary. After Jing was not welcomed by Lu Chaoga would bring Xiaomeng wherever she went. When Fang Yan beat up Chiba Haowu, Xiaomeng was also one of the bystanders. However, there were too many people watching at that time, and her boss was also beside her. Even though she felt that her heart was about to jump out of her chest, she could not take the initiative to express her admiration to Fang Yan. "Don't tell anyone. I'm a very low-key person," Fang Yan said with a smile. "Is Principal Lu in his office?" "Yes. Principal Lu is waiting for you in his office. He said that you can go straight in when you arrive." Xiaomeng's eyes were filled with affection. She looked at Fang Yan and said, "Mr. Fang, Transformers is on. Can I treat you to a movie?" "I don't watch cartoons," Fang Yan said. "It's not cartoons, it's..." Before Xiaomeng finished speaking, Fang Yan had already pushed the door and walked into Lu Chaoga's office. He ran so fast. Xiaomeng's eyes were full of little stars. No wonder he is so good at fighting. Lu Chaoga was looking at a file. This was Fang Yan's file. The file was very simple, so simple that people felt it was not simple. Lu Chaoga knew that either there was a problem with this file or there was a problem with Fang Yan. Or there was a problem with both of them. She also heard Xiaomeng's shouting outside the office. She knew that Fang Yan was now the hottest celebrity in the entire Rosefinch Secondary. Even Tang Qing, the most popular guy in Rosefinch, was not as famous as him. Who asked him to be saved by Fang Yan. Moreover, a teacher, in order to avenge his own student, actually beat up a student from the inspection team in front of so many people. Which student wouldn't like such a protective teacher? Now, Fang Yan had already become the guardian angel in the mouth of many students. As Rosefinch's students boasted to the outside world, the entire student community in Huaqing now knew that Rosefinch had a teacher who knew Kung Fu. Lu Chaoga smiled bitterly. She really didn't know whether this was a good thing or a bad thing. Seeing Fang Yan push the door open and come in, Lu Chaoga said, "Sit down." She took out her tea can from her drawer and pushed it over, saying, "If you want tea, make it yourself." Fang Yan didn't sit down. He looked at Lu Chaoga with a strange expression and said, "Principal Lu, don't be so nice to me. Once you're nice to me, I feel that this is the last conversation we'll have. You want to expel me again, right? If you don't want to drink, then forget it." Lu Chaoga reached out to take the tea can back. Fang Yan quickly reached out and not only grabbed the tea can, but he also grabbed Lu Chaoga's hand. Lu Chaoga's ears were slightly red and she looked at Fang Yan with a sharp gaze. What she meant was, "Hurry up and let go of my hand." Fang Yan didn't seem to feel the murderous intent in Lu Chaoga's eyes and said, "If you let go of the tea can, I'll let go." Lu Chaoga was so angry that she almost laughed. "You're holding my hand, how do you expect me to let go of the tea can?" "Let go," Lu Chaoga said in a low voice. "If you promise." Fang Yan originally wanted to insist, but seeing that Lu Chaoga's expression wasn't right, he quickly let go. "Whether you promise or not, I'll let go." Lu Chaoga put the tea can in front of Fang Yan, but she didn't take it back. She looked up and down at Fang Yan and after a serious look she asked, "Fang Yan, what else are you hiding from me?" "Too much." Fang Yan said very frankly. "My parents' hobbies, first love's name, 3 measurements and so on. I didn't tell you. I don't need to know these things." Lu Chaoga wanted to get angry again. "I know. That's why I didn't tell you." Lu Chaoga stared at Fang Yan with a sharp gaze and said, "You know how to arrange flowers, know calligraphy, have a deep literary foundation, have a great-grandfather and have profound kung fu. Fang Yan, who are you? Why did you come to Rosefinch?" "Others don't know why I came to Rosefinch, but don't you know?" Fang Yan asked aloud. Lu Chaoga's heartbeat sped up for no reason and she said expressionlessly, How would I know why you came? She was worried that Fang Yan would say something messy, and faintly worried that he wouldn't say those words. For the inheritance. Fang Yan said in a deep voice. I want to teach them how to arrange flowers. I want to teach them calligraphy. I want them to appreciate the glory of Chinese culture. I want them to not be bullied. Spider-Man said that the greater a person's ability, the more responsibility he has. I want to follow his example and contribute what I have learned to the country, to society, and to my students. Yes, I'm such a person. A person who is simple but not simple, ordinary but not ordinary. Tell me the truth. Lu Chaoga shouted angrily. I'm afraid. You don't know, that woman hits people too hard. I'm scared of her. Fang Yan said with a sad face, feeling wronged. Chapter 92. The first time I met her, she beat me so hard that I couldn't get out of bed for more than 10 days. The second time she broke my leg. The third time she knocked out 2 of my front teeth. Even now, people still call me a toothless rabbit. Tell me, how can there be such a violent woman in this world? Is she still a woman? Can I not run away? If I don't run away, who knows what she will do to me this time? What if she blinds my eyes? What if she knocks my nose in? She has done that before. Which part of my face is the ugliest? My nose. My nose was so handsome and straight, but after 2 punches from her, it became like this. People who don't know me might think I was born like this. Fang Yan's history of growing up was the history of Yi Rou's brutal violence against him. Thinking of the grievances and wounds on his body, he had the urge to burst into tears. Why is my life so bitter? Fang Yan looked at Lu Chaoga, who was sitting across from him. She was expressionless, and there was no sympathy in her eyes. Don't you think I'm pitiful? Fang Yan asked curiously. Shouldn't she be hugging him and crying bitterly when he said it so miserably? This woman is so heartless. Do you think I'll believe you? Lu Chaoga said with a sneer. Fang Yan opened his eyes wide. In all honesty, every word he said this time was the truth. How can you not believe me? 2 days ago you seriously injured a swordsman from Japan and sent him to the hospital. What kind of woman can beat you? Lu Chaoga asked sarcastically. Bastard, does he think I'm an idiot? There is someone more powerful than me. Fang Yan wanted to explain. He regretted that he didn't ask someone to record the video when Yi Rou beat him. Otherwise, the evidence would be irrefutable. Fang Yan. Lu Chaoga interrupted Fang Yan. I want to hear the truth from you. If you really don't want to talk about it, you can tell me directly. I won't force you. I can't force you. But you don't have to make up such a vulgar story to deal with it. Be honest. Fang Yan's eyes reddened. Wait until you want to talk about it. Lu Xiaoga waved his hand disinterestedly and said, no matter where you come from or what your purpose is, as long as you do it for the good of the students and the school, I will still support you in your work as I have in the past. This time, Class 9's performance is very good. The school should reward you. What do you think? Can you give me a raise? Fang Yan put away his depressed mood and said to fight for the benefits that should belong to him. Impossible, Lu Chaoga said. You've just been promoted from an internship to an official teacher. This is already against the rules. It's impossible for me to get a raise in the near future. Lu Chaoga frowned and asked, are you short of money? Not really. It's just that I'm afraid of being poor and want to save some money to protect myself, Fang Yan said. He still had another thought that he didn't say. He was getting more and more famous in Rosefinch and among the students in Huaqing. What if Yi Gentle found his whereabouts and chased after him? He would have to run away again. Doesn't he need money to run away? If there's a critical moment and you need money urgently, you can ask me for help, Lu Chaoga said. This was a promise. After saying that, Lu Chaoga was inexplicably angry in her heart. Why can't I avoid the topic of money every time I'm with this guy? Shouldn't educated people be ashamed to talk about money? Thank you, Principal Lu. I knew we're on the same side. Fang Yan was overjoyed. What's the best way to test the friendship between friends these days? Borrow money. No matter how much it is, if someone is willing to lend money to you, it means they treat you as an important friend. According to previous practice, the school can allocate a portion of the funds for you to go on a trip. Lu Chaoga said. That's fine. Fang Yan nodded with a smile. Take the students on a sightseeing tour, feel the beauty of nature, and at the same time deepen the relationship between them. This is a good idea. The school is indeed more meticulous and long-term than I am. I'm always thinking about whether I can get a raise or not. The teacher leading the team needs to be the homeroom teacher, Lu Chaoga said. The smile on Fang Yan's face froze. What does this mean? They allocated funds for the students to go on a trip, but they kicked me, the hero, away. Chen Dehai picked up a big bargain. How can they play people like this? Lu Chaoga saw Fang Yan's reaction and laughed in her heart. Kid, I don't believe I can't teach you a lesson. She took out a piece of paper from the folder in front of her and handed it over. She said, from today onwards, you are the homeroom teacher of Class 9. I'll hand over Class 9 to you. Fang Yan grinned and said, I knew the school leaders wouldn't let us. The teachers who work wholeheartedly feel wronged. Sure enough, isn't the reward coming? Fang Yan. Lu Chaoga looked at Fang Yan seriously and said, the homeroom teacher is different from the teacher. The teacher only needs to be responsible for the subject he teaches and ensure the student's academic performance. But the homeroom teacher is not the same. He not only needs to be responsible for the student's academic performance, but also the students' lives. Whether the students come to class, why they don't come to class, what is the reason for the students' declining performance, what is the reason for the students' improvement performance, if the students have conflicts in school, if the students have conflicts outside, they also need to find a way to solve it. The homeroom teacher is not the students' parents, but they are better than the students' parents. This position has a great responsibility. I understand. Fang Yan nodded and said. On the first day I came to Rosefinch, I told Principal Lu that I want to dedicate my youth, talent, and body. Where there is light, there is warmth. That was not a joke. Fang Yan, don't say such unrealistic things. Lu Chaoga interrupted Fang Yan's words. No one wants you to dedicate your youth and body. You just need to be serious and diligent, and that will be enough to become an excellent homeroom teacher. I helped you get the position of homeroom teacher of Class 9 to reward you for your excellent performance in receiving the Warren inspection team. Also, I have something I want you to do. What is it? Pilot, Lu Chaoga said. Pilot of Chinese studies. What do you mean? Fang Yan did not understand. Learn farewell to Cambridge again on Sparrow Bridge and Rainy Alley in Rainy Alley. Enrich the students' knowledge of ancient literature in class and cultivate their interests and hobbies, such as the tea ceremony, calligraphy, and of course martial arts. Actually, you are already doing it. But I hope to make it more systematic. If Class 9 is successful, I will consider promoting it to the whole school, Lu Chaoga said. She looked at Fang Yan and said, you are the most suitable candidate. Aren't you afraid that I will lead the students of Class 9 astray? Fang Yan said with a smile. You have to know that it is still the fractional theory. If I bring them to learn these things all day, what if their scores fall behind? Who says that those who know the tea ceremony and calligraphy can't get high scores? Such people are more open-minded and better at thinking. I believe that they will be able to get better scores. Lu Chaoga looked at Fang Yan and said, of course this is your responsibility. I hope that the students of Class 9 can be good at the tea ceremony and calligraphy, and they can also get good scores. This is the real reason why I am wholeheartedly promoting Rosefinch's education reform. You ask me to do so much but you don't give me a raise, Fang Yan. But I am still willing to do these things for you. Fang Yan said with a smile, what you think is also what I think. What you want to do is also what I want to do. I hope that they can write beautiful words and make beautiful poems. I hope that they can make delicious tea and practice sharp swords. The wisdom of the youth is the wisdom of the country, and the strength of the youth is the strength of the country. If every student is like me, who would dare to provoke us? I will accept this task, Fang Yan said heroically. I will definitely give you a reborn Class 9, a Class 9 that will make everyone look at it in a new light. Let's wait and see, Lu Chaoga said. Principal Lu is busy, so I won't bother you. As Fang Yan spoke, he picked up the can of tea on the desk and said, Principal Lu, you don't need to send me off. I can go out by myself. Lu Chaoga opened her mouth and wanted to shout, but in the end she just shook her head and smiled bitterly. As soon as the office door was closed, the phone on the desk rang. Lu Chaoga glanced at the caller ID, hesitated for a moment and finally pressed the answer button. What's the matter? Lu Chaoga asked coldly. I am at the school gate. A man's hearty voice came from the phone as if he didn't hear the indifference in Lu Chaoga's tone at all, and said, "Mom asked me to pick you up for dinner when I get off work." "I still have work to do," Lu Chaoga said. "I will wait for you at the gate," the man said. "It may take a long time." After hanging up the phone, Lu Chaoga was a little upset. She pulled out the jade guanyin from her chest and gently rubbed it with her hand. A cool feeling poured into her palm and her mood gradually calmed down. Whenever she was unhappy, this jade guanyin could bring her comfort that ordinary people couldn't understand. This kind of life, when will it end? She sighed, and there was a heart-palpitating coldness in her eyes. Chapter 93. It was good to be at home, but it was hard to eat outside. Since moving out of Jiangqin's house, Fang Yan had a hard time eating delicious food. The food in the school cafeteria was really not good, and the money in Fang Yan's pocket could hardly support him to go to the restaurant in front of the school every day to improve his life. What's more, he didn't have the guts to spend all the money at once. He had to save a certain amount of money so that he could run away again at any time. Therefore, even if he was a little afraid of his grandfather Lu Gong, he still liked to go to his house to eat when he had nothing to do. Lu Gong had a small appetite, so he put down his bowl and chopsticks first. He looked at Fang Yan, who was eating happily, and said, "Come to the study after eating." Fang Yan raised his head in confusion, but his grandfather had already left his seat. His grandmother slammed the chopsticks on the table and said angrily, "You old man, why did you ask Fang Yan to go to your study again? I'm warning you, if you scold Fang Yan and drive him away, I won't let you off." Fang Yan quickly comforted his grandmother and said, "Grandma, don't be angry. Who said that Grandpa asked me to go to the study to scold me? Maybe he was praising me. How can I not know his character? If he praised you, he would have said it in front of me. Why would he need to pull you to the study?" His grandmother knew her husband's character very well, so she said angrily, "That's not for sure. Grandpa has been urging me to read books recently. Maybe he asked me to go to the study to check how well I'm reading. You're already a teacher. What's there to test? My grandson is well educated." In his grandmother's eyes, her child was the embodiment of perfection without any flaws. The sea of books is boundless. Even Grandpa doesn't dare to say that he's learned enough. What's the point of my knowledge? Fang Yan said with a smile. He quickly finished the bowl of millet porridge in the bowl and half a steamed bun on the plate. He said, "Grandma, I'll go upstairs to have a look." "Go. Be careful. If that old man scolds you, you can come downstairs to Grandma." Grandma said worriedly. "Grandma, don't worry. Grandfather won't make things difficult for me," Fang Yan said with a smile. When Fang Yan walked into the study, his grandfather was standing in front of the table writing. Every day he would write for 2 hours, an hour in the morning and an hour in the evening. It was also because of his decades of hard work that his calligraphy reached the pinnacle and formed a style of its own. The outside world called it iron bone calligraphy. It meant that his handwriting was as solid as steel, and every stroke seemed to be carved with an awl. Her grandfather rarely wrote for others, so there were very few calligraphy treasures that had been circulated outside. However, in the black market, each word could be sold for a sky-high price of hundreds of thousands to millions of words. Grandpa was one of the few calligraphers in Wuxia who valued their works according to their calligraphy. Even some of the top international masters still valued their works according to the ruler. It couldn't be helped. Who asked the former prime minister to personally ask him for his calligraphy and said, "If you get an iron bone calligraphy, it can be a family heirloom?" Therefore, after Du Qing got his grandfather's calligraphy, he cherished it. He personally visited his grandfather to give him a brush fee, which was also to express his gratitude and the importance he attached to this matter. Yachu. On the white Xian paper, these 2 big characters were written neatly. Grandpa's brush was very heavy. At first glance, it seemed that the ink had soaked the thin Xian paper and burned 2 big holes. However, when you picked up the Xian paper, you would find that the 2 characters were intact. The characters were still on the paper and the paper was still intact. The brush was heavy and the brush was light. Grandpa's grasp of strength tended to be perfect. Seeing his grandfather put down the brush, Fang Yan quickly handed him a clean towel and praised loudly, "Good calligraphy." The strength penetrated the back of the paper, making it hard for me to breathe. "You won't be able to breathe?" Lu Gong didn't respond to Fang Yan's words. Even when Fang Yan deliberately made a low-level mistake while praising, he pretended not to hear it. "You're very famous in Rosefinch." Fang Yan chuckled and said, "What did Grandpa hear? You used your family's martial arts to seriously injure someone and send him to the hospital. What do you think I heard?" Lu Gong stared at Fang Yan sternly and said, "What did you promise me back then?" "I said that I wouldn't easily use force. Grandpa, you don't know what happened that day. If you knew, you would also beat that Japanese up," Fang Yan explained. Lu Gong stared at Fang Yan for a while, then nodded and said, "That's true." Ugh. Fang Yan felt that the old man was a little strange today. He was stubborn and stubborn. Once he made up his mind, even 9 bulls couldn't pull him back. When did he become so easy to talk to? "Grandpa, are you okay?" Fang Yan asked carefully. "What can happen to me?" Lu Gong said with a straight face. "You're not angry." "Why would I be angry? I hit someone. Chowga has already explained the cause of the incident to me. Otherwise, do you think I would let it go easily?" Lu Gong said with a cold snort. "Chowga? Headmaster Lu." Fang Yan looked at Lu Gong thoughtfully and said, "Are you familiar with her? Who do you think invited Chowga back?" A rare smile appeared on Lu Gong's face. Obviously, this was something that made him very proud. "You invited Lu Chowga back? Brat, you have no respect for your elders. You have to call me Headmaster Lu." Lu Gong scolded. Fang Yan thought that Lu Chowga was only a few years older than him, so why couldn't he call her Lu Chowga? "There was a reason for this incident, so I won't pursue it. But have you thought about it? You're so famous now and you've exposed your skills. Don't tell me the Yi family didn't notice? Your mother called several times to ask about it and your grandmother covered it up. You running away from home is such a big thing. Don't tell me they really didn't investigate? Do you think they really don't know you're in Huaqing?" Fang Yan's heart was a little cold. He said, "I also thought about it. Knowing is one thing. But I've already run away. They don't have to come and drag me back, do they?" "I'm so disappointed. Why would they drag you back?" Lu Gong said. "Revenge breeds revenge. When will it end? What era is it now? Is it still fashionable to fight and kill?" "Fang Yan, I'm very happy that you came to Flower City to look for me." Since the path of martial arts was blocked, he would continue on the path of teaching and educating people. "As long as you can settle down, I believe that you will also achieve extraordinary results." "Grandpa, what have I become in my teacher's line of work?" "He's still a teacher." Coming out of his grandfather's villa, Fang Yan felt a little depressed. It was as if Yi Ro would suddenly jump out from the grass on the side of the road and say, "Fang Yan, guess who I am?" Then she would rush up and beat him up. Not only did Yi Ro make him nervous, but also the expectation of his family was a heavy pressure. He ran away from home. His father, who had high hopes for him, must be very disappointed. Grandpa, who was paralyzed in bed, must have suffered a huge blow, right? And that old drunkard. He must have gulped down a few mouthfuls of burning knife and cursed, "You're useless, right?" It wasn't that Fang Yan didn't work hard. On the contrary, he worked even harder than everyone else. The more he wanted to prove himself, the more he couldn't prove himself. Since he had comprehended the Tai Chi realm, the Fang family had regarded it as the hope of revitalizing the family. However, in the past 2 years, the more anxious he was, the more stagnated he became in the Tai Chi realm. In the end, the Tai Chi heart, which had been rotating slowly, stopped moving. It became a stillborn baby. Fang Yan was frightened. He knew that once he fought with Yi Ro, the secret of the Tai Chi realm would be exposed. That woman was not only skilled in martial arts, but also had a good eye. So he ran away. Just like a coward. However, he was the successor of Fang's Tai Chi realm. He could escape for a while, but could he escape for the rest of his life? Fang Yan thought of the sudden reaction of the Tai Chi heart again in his grandfather's study. At that time, his grandfather pointed out his heart and said that he lacked a kind of spirit. Everyone needed a spirit, and they also needed to have their own pursuits. What was his pursuit? He deliberately pursued to improve his martial arts, but he got the opposite result. Instead of making progress, he was retreating. The Tao was natural. If it was not natural, how could he feel the infinite Tao? At that moment, he felt as if he had been enlightened. Fang Yan knew that his escape this time was the right choice. Because he might have found another way to say goodbye. Although that way was full of thorns and weeds and he did not know where to go, he knew that there must be a way. When I leave Rosefinch it will be the day I reach the Tai Chi realm, Fang Yan said to himself. There was no wind or moon and the air was dry and hot. Fang Yan was lost in his thoughts as he walked towards the courtyard he was staying in. His grandfather lived in the easternmost courtyard and the one that belonged to Lu Chaoga where Fang Yan lived was the westernmost one. When he passed by the Yangong Causeway he heard a low shout. Stop, all of you, stop. Jingguodong, you hooligan. Jingguodong? These 3 words were like the key to activating the password. Fang Yan immediately retracted his thoughts. He glanced around and immediately ran toward the bank of Sparrow River. The scene in front of him caused his eyes to crack and his anger to boil. Under the reflection of the clear river, Fang Yan saw that Jing Guodong and Li Yang were blocking a girl, one on the left and one on the right, not letting her leave. The girl had her arms crossed in front of her chest and was resisting with all her might. The girl cursed, but this did not dispel Jing Guodong and Li Yang's enthusiasm. The 2 of them laughed and tangled with each other. They had no intention of letting go of this little sheep. Scum, Fang Yan cursed. He immediately took out his phone from his pocket. Chapter 94. If Fang Yan didn't talk to Zhu Jian in advance and saw this shameful scene, he might directly rush up and slap Zheng Guodong and Li Yang 300 times, and then drag them out to see the school leaders to give them a heavy punishment. They didn't want to be good students but learned to be hooligans. Which hooligan had a good ending. However, he already knew the real reason why his predecessor Zhu Jian was expelled from the school. Naturally, he couldn't repeat the same mistake. Therefore he had to guard against Jing Guodong and Li Yang. Fang Yan turned on the video function of his mobile phone, but the crime scene was dark. There was no usable image on the mobile phone. It didn't matter if there was no image as long as there was sound. With sound, at least Fang Yan could prove himself clearly. No matter how the subsequent plot developed, Fang Yan could be in an invincible position. Fang Yan felt that he was really 2F** king smart. Fang Yan. You bastard, you beast. Don't come over, don't come over. The girl suddenly raised her voice and shouted. Fang Yan's expression froze, and the mobile phone in his hand almost fell to the ground. What was going on? What made him vomit blood was that Jing Guodong and Li Yang, who were trying to take off the girl's clothes like hooligans, turned into the embodiment of justice and the messenger of purity. Jing Guodong blocked the girl with his body and shouted, Fang Yan, don't come over. I'm telling you, as long as I, Jing Guodong, am here, you can't hurt Xu Xia. Xu Xia? Who is Xu Xia? Fang Yan felt very wronged. He didn't know her at all. Li Yang became more arrogant. He didn't know when a wooden stick appeared in his hand. He waved the wooden stick in his hand in the air and shouted, Fang Yan, don't think that you can do evil just because you are good at martial arts. I'm telling you, unless I, Li Yang, die and you step over my dead body. Otherwise, don't think about hurting my girlfriend. Girlfriend? Xu Xia is Li Yang's girlfriend? Fang Yan understood. This was a trap that saw him as the prey. Their target was him. They wanted to ruin his reputation and expel him from the school. It's fine if you don't move, but if you do, you'll hurt others. Fang Yan slipped his phone into his pocket. There was no point in continuing to take photos. All that was left was his criminal record. No, a pending criminal record. There were victims, witnesses, and they would find a way to get physical evidence. Only 2 of the 3 fops were present. The other one, Qin Tao, must be lying in ambush not far away. Fang Yan was furious. He hated being wronged in such a humiliating way. He could imagine that if this matter were to blow up, there would be no place for him in Rosefinch Secondary. No matter what the truth was, it was difficult for him to stand on the podium with such a scandal on his back. Fang Yan smiled. He was amused by these fellows. Last time they were really up to no good and were discovered by Zhu Jian, who was passing by. Then they beat them at their own game. When Zhu Jian was busy protecting the girl from harm, they took a photo of the girl wearing Zhu Jian's jacket and the 2 of them hugging each other. Then they kicked the girl and Zhu Jian out of the school together. This time they were smarter. They designed a set of wolf trapping techniques specifically to deal with Fang Yan. Fang Yan, aren't you good at fighting? Aren't you good at fighting? We won't clash with you directly, but we will think of a way to ruin your reputation. It was not hard to imagine that Fang Yan would be seen by someone with ulterior motives when he went to his grandfather's house for dinner tonight. They immediately discussed setting up a trap. When Fang Yan walked out of his grandfather's house, the show would officially begin. They knew that no teacher would be indifferent when faced with such a situation. Moreover, the culprits were Jing Guodong and Li Yang. They also knew that there was no moon or stars tonight. The sky was pitch black and it was hard to see one's fingers in the forest by the Rosefinch River. It was difficult to use mobile phones and other video equipment. Even if you recorded it, it would be all insulting and attacking Fang Yan. If Fang Yan used it as evidence, wouldn't he be sent to prison? What kind of crime was it for a teacher to molest a student? There was no need to ask. I've always thought that all of you have accomplished nothing. You're just a bunch of good-for-nothings who have nothing better to do, Fang Yan said with a smile. But at this moment I have to apologize to you. You are much better than I thought. Who the f*** are you talking about? Li Yang opened his mouth and wanted to curse. Fang Yan's words were too harsh. His little heart couldn't take it. Zheng Guodong grabbed his arm and shook his head at him, signaling him not to be impulsive and to proceed according to the script they had arranged. Look at this idea, look at this setup, look at this acting. You look like professional actors. No, even some professional actors are not as professional as you. You must have put in a lot of effort, right? Fang Yan, what are you talking about? So what if you are a teacher? Can a teacher molest a female student? Do you have any humanity? Do you have any shame? Zheng Guodong was very immersed in the role, pointing at Fang Yan and scolding. It's a pity that you are not bad guys. Fang Yan said. What makes me happy is that you chose the right way to say goodbye. Being 1099% bad guy. Very good, you have a clear sense of yourself. You didn't go the wrong way. You are the bad guy. 1010% bad guy. Fang Yan, go away. If you dare to touch my girlfriend, I will fight you. The girl hiding behind Jing Guodong and Li Yang also scolded. Fang Yan, I can't believe that you are a teacher on the surface, but do such a thing behind my back. If Jing Guodong and Li Yang didn't come in time, I would have been by you. 55555. To be honest, Fang Yan was in a very tricky situation. Because no matter what he said, others could say that he was quibbling. Zhou Xian was unlucky, but at least the victim was firmly on his side. The victim helped Zhou Xian, so even if Zhou Xian was expelled from school, he would only be cursed for having an affair with a female student. Fang Yan was unlucky that even the victim stood on the opposite side and accused him of trying to molest her. If the police believed that the evidence was conclusive, Fang Yan would be committing a crime. Therefore, the methods that Jing Guodong and the others played on Fang Yan were much more dirty and vicious than the methods that they used on Zhou Xian, who asked Fang Yan to bully them. Naturally, they hated Fang Yan more than they hated Zhou Xian. Fang Yan looked at the performance of the three people in front of him and asked, "Who is Zhou Xian?" Fang Yan, stop pretending. Zhou Xian is my girlfriend, the great beauty of our Rosefinch. Don't you know? If you don't know, why did you follow her to this place? Do you think you can shirk your responsibility like this? We will definitely report to the school and make them expel a dirty teacher like you. You are the scum of the teachers. Why do these lines sound so familiar? Fang Yan thought about it seriously and finally understood. These words were originally said to Jing Guodong, Li Yang and Qin Tao. He didn't expect that these three scumbags would successfully counterattack. And now they could openly return these words to Fang Yan without changing a single word. From this aspect, Fang Yan was indeed a very successful teacher. Do you think that I will be unlucky just because you found a woman to be your accomplice? Fang Yan said with a sneer. Did I touch her? Who saw me touch her? I was a few meters away from her. Don't you think your acting is too much? Do you think that by recording your voices of scolding me, it will prove the fact that I tried to molest that person? Don't you think it's too simple? Also, the sky is so dark. I'm afraid that Qin Tao's phone can't record this scene, right? Could it be that he has more advanced equipment? In order to put on this big show to drive me out of the school to send me to prison, are you willing to pay a lot of money? Okay, the show is over. Fang Yan waved his hand and walked towards Jing Guodong and Li Yang step by step. I can talk to you, but I can't say that I can't kneel to you. Let's do something practical. Jing Guodong shouted even more vigorously and shouted at the top of his voice. Fang Yan, don't you dare. Help, help, Fang Yan is molesting a female student. The girl's voice was even more shrill and miserable. she shouted with a sobbing tone, if you dare to come over. If you dare to come over, I will die in front of you. Fang Yan, I will not let you go even if I become a ghost. Li Yang waved the wooden stick in his hand vigorously and shouted loudly, if you come over, I will beat you to death. I will beat you to death. This is self-defense, the police will not arrest me. The wooden stick was in Fang Yan's hand. Fang Yan's right hand was holding one end of the stick. No matter how hard Li Yang tried, he could not pull the stick out of Fang Yan's hand. Let go, Li Yang shouted as he exerted force. Fang Yan didn't let go. He exerted a bit of force and lifted the wooden stick up. Because Li Yang's hands were holding the stick too tightly, his body was lifted into the air along with the stick by Fang Yan. Fang Yan retracted his right hand and pushed it forward. The stick carried Li Yang's body and flew towards the bird river. Li Yang was like a magical youth flying in the air with a broom in his hand. Of course, this magical youth's magic was not very good. Plop. Li Yang's body fell into the river. Chapter 95. Some people said that insulting others was the behavior of a coward. However, Fang Huohuo liked to scold others first, then beat them up. In this day and age, opening a business required a one-stop service. Words could make people unhappy in their hearts and actions could make people unhappy in their bodies. Fang Yan wanted Jing Guodong and Li Yang to feel uncomfortable. Flush. Li Yang's body fell into the Sparrow River, and the tranquil river was disturbed by his fall. Li Yang didn't know how to swim, so he fell into the river in a hurry and gulped down several mouthfuls of water. He slapped the surface of the water with all his might, causing water to splash everywhere. At the same time he screamed in a mournful voice, "Help! Help, I don't know how to swim. Help!" Fang Yan didn't seem to hear him. He looked at Jing Guodong and asked, "Do you know how to swim?" Seeing how Fang Yan pushed Li Yang into the Sparrow River a few meters away, Jing Guodong began to feel afraid. Just now he had been blocking Wuxia with his body in order to put on an act. Now he began to consciously retreat behind Wuxia. Wuxia saw that Jing Guodong was retreating, so she retreated as well. Thus between the two of them, Jing Guodong was in front and then Wuxia was in front. Their positions were constantly changing. "Do you want to jump in yourself or do you want me to help you?" Fang Yan asked with a smile. "Help." Jing Guodong wanted to scream again. In order to snipe Fang Yan, they had purposely found such a remote location. This was also the reason why no one came to them even though they were screaming. However, the teachers' living quarters were only so big. As long as they shouted even louder, someone would definitely come to them. When Li Yang fell into the water, someone might have already heard the sound. Zheng Guodong had just opened his mouth when he saw Fang Yan disappear in front of him. His brain was still trying to figure out where Fang Yan was when he realized that his body was no longer under his control. Wuxia also lost control of his body. Their feet left the ground as they were dragged by Fang Yan single-handedly towards the bank of the Sparrow River. Thump. Fang Yan exerted force with his hands and both of them fell into the Sparrow River at the same time. When Li Yang saw Jing Guodong falling into the water, he shouted even louder, "Master! Jing, save me! I'm drowning! I don't know how to swim." Jing Guodong was filled with anger. He stood up from the river and scolded, "Idiot, stand up! Why don't you go and die?" The Sparrow River was not deep. With Li Yang's height, as long as he stood steadily, the river water would only reach his chest. It was impossible for him to drink water. But because he was too nervous, he kept plopping in the river and drank several mouthfuls of muddy water. When he heard Jing Guodong's reminder, Li Yang stopped struggling and stood straight in the river. Fang Yan squatted on the bank of the Sparrow River and looked at Jing Guodong, Wuxia and Li Yang, who wanted to climb up but did not dare to approach Fang Yan. He chuckled and said, "I'll give you a brain teaser. Whoever answers it correctly can go ashore. Many people feel that they look better after washing their hair." But no one answered. Jing Guodong was unwilling to answer and Li Yang did not know how to answer. Wuxia thought for a moment and said, "That's because people feel refreshed and their hair is soft. That's why they feel that they look better." Fang Yan shook his head and said, "That's because their brains are filled with water. The three of you didn't answer it correctly, so you can only continue soaking in the river," Fang Yan said with a smile. Fang Yan. Jing Guodong was both angry and humiliated. If he could beat Fang Yan. Nonsense. If he could beat Fang Yan, he would have beaten Fang Yan to death a long time ago. There was no need for him to think about it like this. He had used tricks and acted, and he had even been pushed into the river. I know you hate me, Fang Yan said with a smile. So what? You can't beat me anyway. My dad will definitely avenge us. He won't forgive you. Fang Yan looked at Li Yang, who was threatening him, and said, Your dad can't beat me either. I can beat your whole family, Fang Yan continued. Let your dad, mom, uncles, aunts, grandpa and grandma come at me together. Of course, I'm a cultured man. I can do that, but I disdain to do it, Fang Yan said with a serious face. Cultured man? Jing Guodong and Li Yang were so angry that they were about to cry. How could such a person be called a cultured man? Disdain to do it? Disdain to do it? Why are we all soaking in the river now? Fang Yan looked at their wronged eyes and said, Let your brains be filled with water so that I can reason with you. When you're normal, you usually don't listen to what I'm saying. Do you feel better now? Last time you set up Zhou Xian, it was also in this place, right? Fang Yan asked. No. Li Yang's first reaction was to deny it. Li Yang, shut up. Jing Guodong turned around and shouted. Only then did Li Yang realize that he had said the wrong thing. He looked at Jing Guodong in awe and shut up tactfully. Jing Guodong looked at Fang Yan and said, We don't know what you're talking about. What? My predecessor. Zhou Xian was your language teacher at the beginning of school. Have you forgotten him so quickly? We haven't forgotten Zhou Xian. But that kind of person doesn't deserve to be our teacher. Jing Guodong was extremely calm. He knew that this matter was very sensitive. If it was handled carelessly, Fang Yan might have something on him. Fang Yan was not Zhou Xian. He was more than 10 times more cunning than Zhou Xian. Jing Guodong began to be vigilant. Why did Fang Yan suddenly mention Zhou Xian to them? Could it be that he knew the truth about Zhou Xian? Or did he want to reverse Zhou Xian's verdict? It seemed that Fang Yan was getting more and more dangerous. He had to tell his father about the current situation so that he could be mentally prepared. Is Zhou Xian really not worthy to be your teacher? I think it's you who don't deserve to be his students. What is the truth about that matter? Only God knows, Earth knows, I know, Teacher Zhou knows. Even your parents know. There's no such thing as an impenetrable wall in the world. Do you think you can hide it forever? We never thought of hiding it. Be honest. Be honest to the teacher. Be honest to the school. Be honest to your heart. Carry the sin. Every step is difficult and heavy. Let go of the burden and run to a new life with ease. Are you crazy? Jing Guodong said coldly. Be honest. If he was honest, he would go to the labor camp. The rich life and all the enjoyment he had now would be far away from him. Besides, even if he was willing to be honest, his father would not be willing. Fang Yan stretched his body forward. His legs hooked onto an old vine on the shore. His body was perpendicular to the surface of the Sparrow River. He knocked on Jing Guodong's head and scolded, Aren't you touched by my advice at all? Fang Yan used too much force and Jing Guodong's head was hit. His body tilted backward and he fell into the river once again. Jing. The sound of noisy footsteps came from behind, and someone was shouting Jing Guodong's name. Fang Yan exerted a little force with his legs and his body bounced 90 degrees. He stood upright on the shore. The sound of footsteps was getting closer. The strong light from the flashlight swept across the surface of the river and shone on the faces of Jing Guodong, Li Yang and the others. Qin Tao, Qin Dahai, Baldi and the other 2 security guards of the school quickly ran over. Qin Tao saw Jing Guodong, Li Yang and the others standing in the river. He shouted anxiously, Jing, are you okay? How are you guys? Qin Dahai shone the flashlight on Fang Yan's face and shouted, Fang Yan, do you know what you are doing? You pushed the students into the river. Are you trying to kill them? Baldi looked at Fang Yan in surprise and then looked at Jing Guodong and the others in the river. He did not know what was going on. Just as Fang Yan thought, Qin Tao was indeed the third person hiding in the dark. Not only was Qin Tao hiding in the dark, but his father, Qin Dahai, was also next to him. The reason why they were able to set up this big show was that Qin Dahai played a very important role in it. Jing Guodong, Li Yang and Qin Tao hated Fang Yan and Qin Dahai also hated Fang Yan. Ever since Fang Yan's arrival, his life had entered a period of darkness. 2 days ago, the school also cancelled his position as the teacher of Class 9. In addition to being a substitute teacher, he was also the full-time leader of the mathematics group for the first years. Although he didn't think much of the position of Class 9's homeroom teacher in the past, he still didn't feel good seeing Fang Yan forcibly take it away. This time Jing Guodong came to the door and the two sides hit it off. So there was this trap that was specially prepared for Fang Yan tonight. Originally, the father and son wanted to use some sound evidence, but they did not expect Fang Yan to react so quickly. This made them useless as the third and fourth person. What was even more unexpected was that Fang Yan acted so quickly. In a few moves he threw Jing Guodong, Li Yang and Zhou Xian into the Bird River. They wanted to rescue them. But in half a second Qin Dahai weighed the difference in strength between the two sides, and immediately chose to let Qin Tao rush back to get help. With the people from the security department in Baldi, they would have more witnesses. Moreover, even if they did not succeed in framing them, the presence of the security personnel could also protect their personal safety. Fang Yan's eyes narrowed under the flashlight and he said coldly, "Teacher Qin, you are now using a weapon to attack my eyes. I am warning you, this kind of action may very well cause a war. I will beat you up." Qin Dahai trembled and quickly moved the flashlight away. Chapter 96. Humans are very complicated animals. Most of the time their language isn't to explain anything but to cover up something. It wasn't until Qin Dahai arrived with his people that Fang Yan's hidden motive of talking so much nonsense was achieved. It has to be said that the trap that Jing Guodong, Li Yang and the girl named Zhou Xian worked together to design was very lethal to Fang Yan. In such a situation, Fang Yan had the following ways to solve the problem. First, flee the scene immediately. This was the smartest but also the most frustrating way to deal with it. If Fang Yan didn't want to fall into the trap, all their efforts would be in vain. However, being tricked by a few students and fleeing in panic, it would be a loss of face. How could the arrogant Fang Yan be convinced? Second, beat up Jing Guodong and Li Yang, and then report to the school that they tried to molest the girl Zhou Xian. If Zhou Xian was really molested by them, what were the chances of Fang Yan winning by doing this? The problem was that Zhou Xian was hired by them to frame Fang Yan. If Zhou Xian insisted that Fang Yan conspired against her, and Jing Guodong and Li Yang were injured by Fang Yan in order to protect her, then Fang Yan wouldn't be able to clear his name even if he jumped into the Yellow River. Third, which was the trick that Fang Yan used now, muddy the waters. Fang Yan wanted to smear the reputation of Jing Guodong and Li Yang under the witness of others. Last time, Zhu Jian had an ambiguous relationship with a girl, and Jing Guodong and Li Yang happened to find out and take a key photo, causing Zhu Jian to be the target of public criticism and leave in embarrassment. This time, when Fang Yan tried to molest a female student and was discovered by Jing Guodong and Li Yang, Rosefinch's students and teachers were all suspicious. Why was it always Class 9's language teacher who was intimate with the female students? Why did Jing Guodong, Li Yang and Qin Tao always step forward to stop the language teacher every time he did something evil? Fang Yan's reputation in Rosefinch was like the sun in the sky. In order to help his students, he had injured Wu Rin swordsman and sent him to the hospital. Now he was given the titles of Most Handsome Male Teacher and Student Guardian by the students. The students liked and trusted him very much. What about Jing Guodong, Li Yang and Qin Tao? They were the school's famous hedonistic trio. It might be an exaggeration to say that everyone hated them, but if you said that 9 out of 10 people hated them, then this sentence was definitely true. What if this matter was publicized? Who would the teachers and students believe? The answer was self-evident. This was the clash of forces. Fang Yan was powerful and upright. Therefore Jing Guodong, Li Yang and the others were no match for him. Another example was Fang Yan's grandfather, Lu Gong. If Jing Guodong, Li Yang and the others slandered him, their parents and family would beat them up. Jing Guodong, Li Yang and the others wanted to slander Fang Yan, but they had shot themselves in the foot. With this suspicion, Fang Yan's subsequent actions to save Zhu Jian would be much smoother. They suspected that this was the second time that Fang Yan had been slandered. Then could there be more to Zhu Jian's case? Why don't you try hitting me? Where is the law? Qin Dahai shouted angrily. As he spoke, he quickly shifted the direction of the torchlight. Qin Dahai hated Fang Yan, but he was also afraid of Fang Yan. When the 9th class was in charge of receiving the Wu Rin inspection team, he was not present at the competition, even though he was the class teacher. Therefore he did not get to see Fang Yan's little universe throw Chiba Haomu into the air and beat him up. However, there were many witnesses at the scene, and they described Fang Yan's kung fu as amazing. Qin Dahai had no choice but to believe it. Baldi and two of his colleagues from the security office pulled Jing Guodong, Li Yang, and Xu Xia out of Sparrow River and asked, "What happened? Why did you fall into the river?" "It was Fang Yan." Jing Guodong pointed at Fang Yan and cursed. "He was the one who threw us into the Sparrow River." "Yes, it was him. He even hit us," Li Yang echoed. Xu Xia covered her face and sobbed. She said in a choked voice, "Fang Yan is a beast." "He's worse than a beast." Baldi was shocked. He looked at Xu Xia and asked, "Student, what do you mean by that?" "Fang Yan molested my girlfriend," Li Yang said angrily. "If we didn't get there in time, my girlfriend would have." Baldi looked at Fang Yan and blurted out, "That's impossible, right?" Fang Yan chuckled and said, "I don't think it's possible either." Qin Dahai was infuriated by Baldi. He reprimanded, "Baldi, explain yourself. How do you know it's impossible? How do you know Fang Yan wouldn't do something like that? As the school's security officer, shouldn't you investigate when a student is in trouble? How can you make a judgment based on your own subjective knowledge?" Baldi smiled awkwardly and said, "Team leader Qin, don't be angry. We'll get to the bottom of this." Baldi looked at Xu Xia and asked, "Student, you said that teacher Fang Yan. What? Do you have any evidence?" "I." Xu Xia looked at Qin Tao. Qin Tao stood behind Qin Dahai and shook his head at her. "No. Do you have any?" Baldi turned to look at Jing Guodong and Li Yang. "Do we even need evidence?" Jing Guodong was infuriated by this little security guard. "We are the evidence. Li Yang and I saw it with our own eyes. Xu Xia is the victim, so aren't her words the evidence? Why don't you say that you guys worked together to harm me?" Fang Yan said with a smile. "You guys chased teacher Zhu Jian away and now you want to use the same method to chase me away. You're really ruthless." Baldi and the others looked at each other and remembered that this wasn't the first time Jing Guodong and the others had done something like this. Didn't they use this method to chase away a language teacher a while ago? Baldi looked at Jing Guodong and the others suspiciously and said, "This is a serious matter. Let's leave it to the school leaders to handle." Jing Guodong looked at Qin Dahai with a questioning gaze. Qin Dahai shook his head and said, "It's already so late. It's better not to alert the school leaders. I suggest the security department do the first step of the investigation and report to the school leaders after the results are out." As long as this matter was under the control of the security department, Qin Dahai and the others would have the initiative. After all, the head of the security department, Zhao Dezhu, was one of them. Besides, Qin Dahai had already noticed that the situation wasn't good for them. Now they didn't have any evidence to convict Fang Yan. Jing Guodong and Li Yang's reputation was too bad. Even Xu Xia's reputation in the school wasn't good. Everyone said they were right and everyone said they were right. The final result might be that no one could do anything to the other. The most important thing was that if this matter was spread out, perhaps Jing Guodong and Li Yang would be at a disadvantage. Thinking of this, Qin Dahai was a little angry. "Hey guys, why can't you pay more attention? Don't you know that it's very difficult for bad people to do bad things these days?" "Okay, then I'll call Chief Zhao and report it," Baldi said. Such a big matter, he couldn't bear it as a small security guard. He had to let the head of the security department come forward to solve it. Fang Yan patted Baldi's shoulder and said, "Investigate it as soon as possible and give me justice." Sure. Baldi nodded. "Baldi." Qin Dahai roared angrily. "We will definitely deal with it impartially. Deal with it impartially." Baldi quickly changed his words. Things went as Fang Yan expected. Because Jing Guodong, Li Yang and the victim, Xu Xia, couldn't produce any evidence, this matter could only be left unsettled. Because of the school's security department's intervention, the rumor that Fang Yan attempted to molest Xu Xia spread in Rosefinch Secondary. What? Mr. Fang Yan molested Xu Xia? God, that's impossible, right? It's Xu Xia's own imagination, right? Why didn't she take a look at herself? Xu Xia's reputation is so bad and she's not good looking. How could Mr. Fang Yan like her? Xu Xia is not as good looking as me. Xu Xia was originally a celebrity in the school. She was beautiful, wore heavy makeup and walked the sexy route. She was the big sister of a group of female delinquents. She changed boyfriends faster than she changed her clothes. Later, when she got together with Li Yong, she temporarily stabilized. Because of Fang Yan's molestation, her reputation was suddenly pushed to the peak. Moreover, someone had given this incident a name: Fantasy Gate. It meant that this was completely a fantasy of Zhou Xian, a love-struck girl. It was to attract Fang Yan's attention. Zheng Guodong and Li Yang's reputation was too bad, and they were too vicious, so no one was willing to talk about them. On the contrary, the two of them weren't affected too much. This was a physical education class. Zhou Xia was surrounded by a group of her best friends as she walked towards the stadium. Zhou Xia. A clear voice called out. Zhou Xia turned around and saw an outrageously beautiful girl sitting on the steps of the basketball court. The girl was wearing a rosefinch uniform and her long hair was draped over her shoulders. One of her ears was plugged with headphones, and the other was held in her hand so that she could talk to others. She didn't have any makeup on her face and she didn't have any accessories on her body. However, it was this aura that was naturally revealed that made people feel as if they had forgotten about the mundane world at the sight of it. Qin Yitian. The famous Qin Yitian in the school. It was as if someone had cast a spell on her. Zhou Xia stopped in her tracks and so did the rest of her friends. Everyone's breathing slowed down, and they stared unblinkingly at the girl in the uniform on the steps. "Come here." Qin Yitian shouted. Zhou Xia glanced at her friends and took the initiative to walk towards where Qin Yitian was sitting. She smiled and said, "Senior Yitian, are you looking for me?" Flap. Qin Yitian slapped Zhou Xia's face. Chapter 97. The slap was sudden and inexplicable. Zhou Xia was completely dumbfounded. She didn't understand how she had suffered such an undeserved disaster. All along she had kept a considerable distance from the rosefinch goddess, Qin Yitian. Qin Yitian was very famous, but she rarely appeared in public, let alone participated in any club activities at school. Zhou Xia's fame wasn't as good as Qin Yitian's, but she appeared more frequently in school and most students knew her. Some of Zhou Xia's best friends thought that she should be the real rosefinch goddess. Zhou Xia also thought so. A beautiful woman could always pick out some flaws from the faces of equally beautiful women. Was it because she had such thoughts that Qin Yitian asked her to slap her? However, she had never revealed it to others. How did she know? Zhou Xia's skin was white and tender. After being slapped by Qin Yitian, a purplish-red palm print immediately appeared on her cheek. Zhou Xia opened her mouth and wanted to ask why. "I didn't provoke you. Why did you hit me?" However, when the words came to her mouth, she couldn't say anything. Zhou Xia's group of best friends saw that Zhou Xia was being slapped and ran forward to help her. At this time, Qin Yitian raised his head and glanced at them. When they met Qin Yitian's threatening gaze, they immediately stopped. Flap. Qin Yitian's slap landed on Zhou Xia's left cheek. Flap. This was the third slap. "Get lost." Qin Yitian shouted. Zhou Xia stood still and stared at Qin Yitian. She looked like she wanted to pounce on Qin Yitian and fight to the death. After the 3 slaps, Qin Yitian treated Zhou Xia as if she was invisible. She put the headphones that she had just taken off into her ears and focused on enjoying the moving music and the autumn wind of the sports field. After a long time, Zhou Xia's eyes turned red and big tears rolled down her cheeks. He turned around and ran back the way he came. When the group of female delinquents saw Zhou Xia running away, they looked at each other and hurriedly chased after Zhou Xia. From the beginning to the end, no one scolded Qin Yitian, and no one dared to step forward to defend him. They saw Qin Yitian, but they could only look at Qin Yitian in this way. They had a feeling that Qin Yitian was from a different world from them. Tangqing walked to Qin Yitian's side and sat down. He said with a smile, "How can you be like this? You should at least give me a reason to hit someone, right? If you slap her 3 times, she probably won't even know why she's being hit, right?" Qin Yitian glanced at Tangqing, but he didn't take the earphones off his ears and said, "She will figure it out." He didn't understand now. "You'll understand later." Qin Yitian didn't even have the mood to smile when he heard the rumors about Fang Yan and Zhou Xia. Framing. What a shameful framing. You don't even want to talk to her? You're really stingy. "Her heart is too dirty," Qin Yitian said expressionlessly. Tangqing grinned and said, Zheng Liang is really stupid. He thinks he can drive Fang Yan away with such a dirty trick. Does he think Fang Yan is Zhu Jian? 1 Fang Yan is worth 100 Zhu Jian. Qin Yitian turned his head and glanced at Tangqing with dissatisfaction. 8,000. Qin Yitian was still not satisfied. 10,000. Fang Yan is Fang Yan, Qin Yitian said. Hey. Fang Yan is Fang Yan. Tangqing's body was lying on the steps, and he imitated Qin Yitian to bask in the sun. Qin Yitian, you look like a crazy fan defending the rights of her idol. Zheng Guodong and Liang want to drive Fang Yan away. You won't go and slap them, will you? If you really want to do that, you must tell me in advance so I can go and watch. Men should solve their own problems, Qin Yitian said. I think he must be embarrassed to slap a woman, so I did it for him. Tangqing couldn't sit still. He looked at Qin Yitian's almost perfect side face with burning eyes. He looked at the pink and white skin that was slightly transparent under the sun and the fine pink fluff that could only be seen at such a close distance. His heart was beating fast, but he tried to keep his voice steady and said, Qin Yitian, you don't really like Mr. Fang, do you? Qin Yitian's beautiful eyes were full of smiles. She looked at Tangqing and said, you deliberately pointed out his identity as a teacher. Do you want to add some resistance between us? I hope you can be sober. He is a teacher and we are students. It is impossible for a teacher and a student. How do you know it is impossible? Qin Yitian asked. Tangqing really couldn't guarantee this. He knew Qin Yitian. He knew her character. When she decided on something, it was really difficult to change her mind. You see, even you believe that we will be together in the future. Qin Yitian said with a smile. I don't believe it. Tangqing said with a very firm voice. I never believed that you two will be together. I only believe that we two will be together. Only the two of us are the most suitable. Qin Yitian, I like you. Can't you feel it at all? But I don't like you. Qin Yitian said indifferently. Fang Yan was in big trouble. When he returned to the office after teaching 2 Chinese classes to the students of class 9, a folded white paper crane fell from the textbook. He held the paper crane and flew in the air twice before he realized that there was something wrong. Who put the paper crane in his textbook? Why did they put the paper crane in his textbook? He opened the paper crane with doubts and expectations. Sure enough, there was a love letter written to him. Mr. Fang, I like you so much. Qin Yitian. This was the first name that came to Fang Yan's mind. She was the only one who dared to confess her love to him so openly. However, Fang Yan soon ruled out his doubts about Qin Yitian. Qin Yitian was such a proud girl. If she liked a man, she would express it to him face to face. How could she choose to express it in a love letter? Moreover, there was no signature at the end of this love letter. This was not Qin Yitian's style. Zheng Guodong. The reason why Fang Yan guessed that it was Zheng Guodong's doing was that he was worried that Zheng Guodong would use other ways to frame him after his plan failed that night. As for the 3 problematic students in his class, Fang Yan never dared to take them lightly. They wanted to expel him from the school, and Fang Yan also wanted to find a way to help Zhu Jian clear the shame from them. Good people should be rewarded and good teachers should be respected by others. However, if it was just a love letter, how could it frame him? Or was it really written by a girl in the class? If that was the case, Fang Yan would have a headache. Puppy love. Puppy love was a problem that middle school teachers had to face. What was more annoying was that this puppy love did not happen between students, but the students directly wrote a letter to the teacher to confess their love. Fang Yan had only had one failed love experience in his more than 20 years of life, so he was still very shy and unfamiliar with this magical thing called love. However, he knew that if he did not handle it carefully, he might hurt both himself and others. This matter could not be made public, so he could only find the writer quietly and solve the problem without hurting her self-esteem. Just when Fang Yan was in a daze, Teacher Kai in the office greeted Fang Yan while cleaning the table and said, "Mr. Fang, it's time to get off work. Why don't you go back to eat?" Ever since the Wu Ren inspection team arrived, ever since Fang Yan became famous after the battle, and ever since he was promoted from an ordinary language teacher to the prestigious position of Class 9's homeroom teacher, he realized that his popularity in the office had improved tremendously. The teachers who did not like him before would take the initiative to say good morning to him when he went to work in the morning, and the teachers who were usually indifferent to him would also say hello to him when they came home from school. Even during the break, the teachers would generously give a small piece of potato chips or bread to Fang Yan. Fang Huohuo finally felt the warmth of home in Zhuke Middle School. "I'm going back now," said Fang Yan. He put the paper crane in his pocket, then got up and walked out of the office. Just as he walked out of the office, he saw Baldy running towards him in a hurry. "Baldy, what are you busy with?" asked Fang Yan with a smile. In order for the students to learn Farewell to Cambridge again in Sparrow River, Fang Yan had specially gone to borrow Baldy's black canoe, which the school used for salvage. Through that encounter, Fang Yan had conquered him with his idle handsome appearance and extraordinary poet temperament, and the two of them had maintained a very close friendship. When Baldy saw Fang Yan, he said, "I'm looking for you. Mr. Fang, why is your phone out of battery? I can't get through to you. Someone is looking for you at the school gate." "Looking for me? Who?" asked Fang Yan. "You'll know when you get there," said Baldy. "A woman?" asked Fang Yan. "A man," said Baldy. "Man?" Fang Yan thought about it. "I don't have any male friends in Huaqing. Du Qing wouldn't come to school to look for me, and Jiang Zhulu. If he wanted to see me, he wouldn't have asked Baldy to come over and inform me. He might have been hit on the head with a stick." Fang Yan followed Baldy to the school gate and saw two figures, one tall and one short, waiting outside the security booth. Fang Yan turned and walked away. "I don't know them." Chapter 98. Seeing Fang Yan turn around and leave, the short fatso chased after him and shouted anxiously, Junior Marshal Uncle, don't run. I'm Fang Yingying. Look at me carefully. I'm Fang Yingying." Fang Yan was angry in his heart. "I ran because I saw clearly that you were Fang Yingying." The Fang family still came to the door, which made Fang Yan have the urge to immediately pack his bags and buy a ticket to run away. If the Fang family could come to the door, why couldn't the Yi family? This time it was hero and warrior. Who could guarantee that the next one wouldn't be violent and gentle? The tall man ran in front of Fang Yan in a few steps and said like a child, "Junior Marshal Uncle, I'm hungry. If you're hungry, let's go eat." "I don't have money." Baldy felt that his IQ was not enough. He looked at the three people entangled together and shouted, "Fang Yan, they really seem to know you. It's your nephew. It can't be wrong. Isn't this nonsense?" Fang Yan thought gloomily. He also knew that since hero and warrior had come to the door, it was impossible for him to escape. This was the school gate. It was not a good idea to make a ruckus here. Fang Yan stopped and looked at hero and warrior. He said, "Let's go eat." "Thank you, Junior Marshal Uncle," the short and fat Fang Yingying said happily. "All the heroes are starving." Fang Yan took hero and warrior to a Hunan restaurant at the school gate. In order to talk more conveniently, he asked the proprietress for a small private room. As soon as the three of them sat down, the waiter came in with the menu and asked with a smile, "What would you like to eat?" Fang Yan took the plate and said, "Fish with tofu, braised pork, scrambled eggs with chives," and crack! A crisp sound was heard and the room became deathly quiet. The waiter stared at Fang Haohan with his eyes wide open and said in disbelief, He bit the cup." "Junior Marshal Uncle, the hero is eating the cup again." Fang Yingying complained. Fang Yan looked at Fang Haohan and said helplessly, "Hero, the dishes will be served soon. Can you bear with it for a while?" "Junior Marshal Uncle, I am hungry," Fang Haohan said with an infinite grievance. Fang Yan waved his hand and said, "Only this one. You should fill your stomach first so that you can eat later." "Thank you, Junior Marshal Uncle," Fang Haohan said happily. Then he put the glass in his mouth and began to chew. "A hand-torn cabbage. Girl, a hand-torn cabbage. Hurry up and write," Fang Yan urged. "I." The little girl's hand holding the pen trembled. "Eating a glass cup as a dessert? What kind of people are they? They won't bite, right?" The little girl felt that she was in danger and was very scared. "Let me do it," Fang Yan said. He took the pen and the menu from the little girl's hand. After adding a few vegetables such as hand-torn cabbage and vermicelli, he handed the menu to the little girl and said, "Give us a big bowl of noodles. No rice or wine. Come up quickly." He pointed at Fang Haohan and said, "If you serve the dishes slowly, he may eat all the cups on the table." The little girl's body trembled violently. She looked at Fong Haohen, who was eating the glass happily and blissfully, as if she was looking at a monster. She opened the door and ran away in a panic. Fong Yen looked at Fong Haohen and said, "Hero, don't eat glass in public in the future. It's not good. Can we eat in your house?" Fong Haohen asked. "My house." Fong Yen stared at the hero vigilantly and said, "When are you two going back?" Fong Yingying glanced at Fong Haohen sadly and said with a smile, "Junior Marshal Uncle, we're not going back. Where are we going to live?" "We'll live wherever you live," Fong Yingying said. Seeing Fong Yan's expression change, he quickly explained, "We don't have to sleep on the bed. We can sleep on the floor or in the yard. Just give us a place to stay." "Who told you to come out and find me?" Fong Yen asked. "Master," Fong Yingying said. "Old drunkard." The hero's master was Fong Yan's grandfather, Fong Hui's disciple and adopted son. Fong Hui only had one son, Fong Yixing, and Fong Yixing only had one son, Fong Yan. The Fong family had only one son. Fong Hui was a martial arts master. His Tai Chi was superb and people called him Shadowless Hand. The reason why Fong Hui had such a nickname was because he rarely fought with others. Even if he did fight, it was hard to see him fight. He didn't use his hands to fight because it was embarrassing. This was exactly the case for people like Fong Hui who had reached the peak of martial arts. Due to Fong Yan's lack of ability, he was still doing this kind of shameful thing. Fong Hui loved martial arts and he put all his hope on his son, Fong Yixing. He didn't expect that Fong Yixing only liked reading, painting and learning, and had no interest in Tai Chi at all. Fong Hui fought and forced his son, but Fong Yixing rejected him from the bottom of his heart. Even if he learned some punches and kicks, it was just perfunctory and Fong Hui didn't like it at all. Fong Hui was so disappointed with his son that he chose the most talented disciple among his disciples, Mo Qingdi, as his adopted son. He wanted him to replace Fong Yixing and inherit the Tai Chi legacy. After Fong Yan was born, Fong Hui placed all his hopes on him. He nurtured him wholeheartedly and taught him personally. He wanted him to become a useful person quickly. According to seniority, Mo Qingdi should be Fong Yan's uncle. However, Fong Yan's master was his grandfather, Fong Hui, so he and Mo Qingdi were brothers. This was also the reason why the hero called Fong Yan Junior Martial Uncle. Family, there was a family and there was a door, so the title was a bit confusing. Mo Qingdi was a rare martial arts genius, and he felt the Tai Chi state 6 years earlier than his master Fong Hui. Of course, his record was broken by Fong Yan. Fong Yan felt the Tai Chi state at the age of 22, and was called a weirdo by the Fong family. However, Mo Qingdi's life was unfortunate. After experiencing a huge blow in his life, he became addicted to alcohol and was called an old drunkard. The hero and the hero were two disciples that Fong Yan's senior martial brother Mo Qingdi brought back from outside. They didn't have this name before, but when Fong Yan was chatting with them, he asked them what their dreams were. At that time, Fong Yingying, who was not called Fong Yingying, said that after learning martial arts, he would become a hero who would fight for justice. Fong Haohen, who was not called Fong Haohen, nodded while eating glass. So Fong Yan gave the short and fat Fong Yingying the name Fong Yingying, and the tall and thin Fong Haohen could only be called Fong Haohen. Hearing Fong Yan call their master an old drunkard, Fong Yingying's face became gloomy, and the glass in Fong Haohen's mouth became tasteless. It was tasteless in the first place, okay? Fong Yingying looked at Fong Yan and said, "Master said he has nothing to teach us, so he asked us to come to you and follow you to explore the world. We will go wherever Master says you go. Let us protect you." Fong Haohen swallowed the glass and said aloud, "But I'm just a language teacher, where can I go? Do I need your protection?" Fong Yan said angrily. Seeing that Fong Yan was angry, the hero immediately lowered his head and said nothing. Fong Yan sighed softly and said, "How does your master know I'm in watching?" "Everyone knows." Fong Haohen raised his head and said, "What did you say?" Fong Yan's face turned pale. Fong Yingying knew that Fong Haohen didn't know how to speak, so he quickly helped explain and said, "Master said you have nowhere else to go. Huaqing is the safest place, so he asked us to come to Huaqing to find you." "My parents know I'm in Huaqing?" Fong Yan asked. "They should know." Fong Yingying saw that Fong Yan's expression was unfriendly, so he quickly changed his words and said, "Or maybe they don't know." "Do they know or not?" Fang Yan slapped the table. They know. Who else knows? The Fang family knows, the Yi family knows, and everyone else who should know knows, Fang Yingying said honestly. Fang Yan wanted to cry but no tears came out. I'm so low-key but I'm still so flirtatious in the eyes of others. Does Yiro know? Fang Yan asked. This was the question he was most concerned about. He ran away right before the competition. Yiro was probably the angriest one. If this woman knew, it would be no small matter. However, the Fang family knew, the Yi family knew, so how could Yiro not know? He was just hoping for a little luck. Just a little. Fang Yingying nodded and then shook his head. What does that mean? Fang Yan asked. Does she know or not? When we left, Miss Yi was drinking with Master. Miss Yi asked us to bring you a message. The muscles on Fang Yan's face twitched. He felt that his heart was about to break. What did she say? Fang Yan asked bitterly. He felt that his life was too hard. What kind of god did I offend? Miss Yi said that she would pretend not to know that you were in watching. Fang Yan breathed a sigh of relief and said with a smile, that means she won't pursue this matter anymore. Miss Yi also said. Fang Yan wanted to beat Fang Yingying to death. Would it kill you to say everything at once? Because of Fang Yingying's big turn, Fang Yan's heart was hung up high again. You must wash your face every day. She is afraid that she will dirty her hands, Fang Yingying said. Fang Yan felt that his life was dark. He couldn't live like this. Chapter 99. If someone told Fang Yan to wash his face every day because he wanted to slap Fang Yan's face, Fang Yan would have already rushed up to fight with him. If this person was Yi Wenro, Fang Yan had also rushed up to fight with her. But he didn't win. For Teacher Hua, if one day he could beat Yi Wenro, he would definitely rush over and kiss her fiercely. He didn't hit her, he wanted to humiliate her. Sometimes, a mouth can hurt others more than a fist. Fang Yan had already made sufficient preparations, and was just short of beating Yi Wenro to the ground. Some people say that the fist is the hard truth. In Fang Yan's eyes, this sentence was simply the truth. Why did Yi Wenro dare to bully him like this? Wasn't it because her fists were harder than his? Otherwise, would she dare to bully him? He would have beaten her to the point that even her parents wouldn't recognize her. Hearing Fang Yingying's words, Fang Yan was both anxious and angry. He was anxious because that little girl Yi Wenro was still holding a grudge. Furthermore, she could come to Flower City and beat him up at any time. He was angry because she threatened him in front of so many people. Wasn't that not giving him face? Fang Yan slammed his palm on the table and shouted, how dare the Yi family come to our Fang family's territory and behave atrociously, and even say that they want to injure our Fang family's disciple. My personal honor is nothing, but where is the reputation of our Fang family? Where is our dignity? This is too much. This is too much. Fang Yan looked at Fang Yingying and asked, your master was there? Yes. Fang Yingying nodded. He didn't say anything? Yes. Fang Yingying took away the cup in front of Fang Haohan, worried that he wouldn't be able to control himself and swallow the new cup. What did he say? Fang Yan asked. Master said. Fang Yingying looked at Fang Yan's expression and said carefully, that's how it should be done. Fang Yan almost spat out a mouthful of blood. That old drunkard. Was he still a member of the Fang family? Is he still my grandpa's disciple and my senior brother? How could he speak up for a woman at this time? Almost no one in the Fang family liked Yi Ro. This was because she had mercilessly beaten up Fang Yan time and time again until his skin was torn, his teeth were broken and his legs were broken. She had really caused the Fang family to lose face. How could the Fang family like their nemesis? The reason why she said it was almost, rather than absolutely, was because there was another person in the Fang family who liked and admired her. That person was Fang Yan's eldest senior brother, the old drunkard. He didn't know which side of Yi Ro caught the old drunkard's eye, but he said that this girl was straightforward, generous and had a bright future. Moreover, Yi Ro also had a hobby that matched the temper of an old drunkard. Yi Ro was fond of drinking, and it was not difficult for her to drink 2 or 3 kilograms of high liquor. Even the old drunkard could only surrender when he competed with her in drinking. Yi Rou and the old drunkard were bosom friends in the past, so the old drunkard treated Yi Rou much better than he treated his junior brother. Fang Yan pointed at Fang Yingying and Fang Haohan and said, "Go back. You two go back quickly. Your master treated me like this and he still has the face to send you to my side to eat. Get out of here. Junior martial uncle master asked us to protect you," Fang Haohan said with a simple and honest face. Fang Yingying patted Fang Haohan's arm, motioning him not to speak casually. He looked at Fang Yan with an obsequious smile and said, "Haohan and I are of course on the side of junior martial uncle. Hero. Miss, she has nothing to do with us. Am I right? Ever since we were young, the person that Hero and I admired the most was junior martial uncle. Our ultimate dream is to follow little martial uncle to brave the world, do chivalrous deeds and become true heroes." Fang Yingying originally wanted to call Yi Rou by her name, but thinking of this woman's usual arrogant and domineering style, he quickly added the respectful title of Miss. Fang Haohan nodded and said, "That's right." Fang Yan sighed softly, knowing that since these two burdens had come, it would not be so easy to drive them away. He looked at Fang Yingying and asked, "Do my parents know that you came here?" "Both master and madam know." "What did they say?" "They didn't say anything." "Then they pretended not to know." Fang Yan said. "My father. He wasn't angry, right?" Fang Yingying thought for a moment, shook his head and said, "I don't know. But on the day young master ran away, master smashed his study." Fang Yan wanted to hit someone. He wanted to give Fang Yingxiong, who looked like a bad guy, a good thrashing. How could you tease other people's feelings like this? The old man smashed his most precious study, which he usually didn't let people enter. Don't you know whether he was angry or not? Fang Yan felt that he was very weak and helpless now. Fang Yingying noticed Fang Yan's murderous eyes, shook his big head and said seriously, "I really don't know. How can we, as his disciples, guess what's on master's mind?" "Fang Yingying, if you make me angry again, get out of here." Fang Yan scolded. "Even if you don't make me angry, get out after this meal. I won't take you in. I can't protect myself now. I'm ready to run away at any time." "Then we'll accompany junior martial uncle to run away," Fang Yingying said with loyalty. "Many people can take care of each other." "Yes, that's right." Fang Haohan nodded and said. The door of the private room was opened and a waiter came in with a big porcelain bowl. It was fish with tofu with a lot of chili. Fang Yan rinsed the chopsticks with tea and said, "Eat, eat. You two get out of here after the meal." The actions of the two heroes did not look heroic at all. The two of them tore the chopsticks out of the disposable bag. Ignoring the fiery red chili on the chopsticks and the sizzling hot oil, they scooped up the fish and fed it to their mouths. It was so hot that they couldn't bear to spit it out even if they screamed. Fang Yan glanced at them with a noble and cold look and said, "I often eat this dish." After saying that, he felt very sour in his heart. If they were at home, there would be all kinds of delicacies. What kind of delicacies couldn't they eat? When the waiter closed the door and left, he was still looking at the faces of the three people in the room curiously, not knowing what he was looking for. When the second dish was served, the waiter became a tall and strong middle-aged uncle with an oily face. The middle-aged uncle put the plate of shredded cabbage on the table and said with a smile, "Three little brothers, I'm sorry to bother you." Fang Yan looked at the middle-aged man and asked, "What's the matter?" "Well, it's like this. I heard from our little sister here that there's a little brother who can eat raw glass. Is there anyone who can cook and eat glass?" Fang Yan asked. He was in a bad mood originally, and the waitress told everyone what happened in their private room, which made him even more unhappy. Therefore his tone when talking to the middle-aged man was not very friendly. "Ah, little brother is really humorous. Really humorous." The middle-aged man was a little embarrassed. However, he seemed to have a very strong ability to resist attacks. He still didn't give up his goal. He looked at Fang Yan and said, "It's like this." When the little sister said that someone can eat glass, many guests outside heard it. A table of guests wanted to invite this little brother who can eat glass to go out and perform for everyone. Fang Yan's face became more gloomy. He pointed to the door and said, "Go out." The middle-aged man still wanted to persuade him and said, "Little brother, you can think about it. If it's true, they are willing to pay for your expenses today. Everyone is just looking for fun, right?" Fang Yan was amused by the middle-aged man and said, "Are you the owner of this restaurant?" Yes. My surname is Su. Su Bin. The middle-aged man smiled and reached out his big hand to Fang Yen and said, "Thank you, little brother, for coming to my small restaurant." Fang Yen didn't shake hands with the fat boss. He pointed to the door and said, "It's enough to confirm that you are the boss. You can go out now. I won't come back to your restaurant in the future. I'm just helping someone to say something. Since you don't want to, then forget it. You guys eat and drink well." The middle-aged man looked unhappy, but he still turned and walked out of the box. Fang Haohan looked at Fang Yen and said, "I'll go and give them one. I'm not full anyway." "That's right. You can also earn money for a meal." Fang Yingying echoed. But Fang Yen slammed his palm on the table. "Do you want to stay?" Fang Yingying and Fang Haohan nodded quickly. They came all the way to find Fang Yen. Didn't they want to follow him to conquer the world? "Then listen to me," Fang Yen said. "Eat." Fang Yingying and Fang Haohan nodded and began to eat again. Clang! The door of the box was kicked open from the outside. Because the quality of the door was not very good, it looked shaky and could fall at any time. They saw the owner of the restaurant, Su Bin, who had just walked out of the box, standing in front of several young people and kept explaining something. Those young people didn't take Su Bin seriously at all, and forcibly barged into the private room. The man with the brush cut looked at Fang Yen and the hero and said, "What's wrong? We're asking you to go out and cheer for everyone, but you don't want to give us face? If you don't give us face, we'll also make you lose face." Fang Yen tasted the fresh and tender fish in his mouth and said with a smile, "I'll give you face if you have face. If you don't, why should I give you face? If you want others to give you face, you have to say where your face is first, right?" Chapter 100. There was a martial arts school next to Rosefinch Secondary called Huaqing Glory Martial Arts School. Most of the students in the martial arts school were boys. They were at the age where they were full of energy. Relying on their good skills, they often went outside the school to fight. Because the two schools were close, Glory Martial Arts School students and Rosefinch Secondary students often had conflicts. Glory Martial Arts School students would either snatch Rosefinch's students' girlfriends or force Rosefinch's students to give them a pack of cigarettes or borrow 200 yuan to spend. Rosefinch Secondary students were proud and arrogant. Naturally, they were not willing to be bullied like this. Students from the two schools secretly fought several times outside. Every time, Rosefinch suffered a crushing defeat. Rosefinch's crushing defeat encouraged the arrogance of Glory Martial Arts School students. They often went to Rosefinch's students' territory to show off their strength and beat up whoever they didn't like. Sometimes when they ate at the same restaurant as Rosefinch's students, they were especially cruel and merciless when ordering dishes. After eating and drinking in high spirits, they pointed at Rosefinch's students and said it was their treat before leaving. Rosefinch's students were angry but didn't dare to say anything. They could only obediently accept this disguised extortion. Rosefinch's principal also went to negotiate with the martial arts school because of the students' reaction. The result of the negotiation was that the martial arts school would record demerits to the offending student. However, why would the martial arts school students care about this? After the punishment, they became even more aggressive in bullying Rosefinch's students. The buzz cut was called Wang Hui. He was a student of Glory Martial Arts School. He was also the student leader of Glory Martial Arts School. Martial arts schools were different from other cultural schools. As long as you could fight, the students would respect you. Wang Hui relied on his knowledge of Kai boxing to beat everyone in the school. Even some of the weaker instructors couldn't beat him, which further fostered his lawless personality. This Hunan restaurant was opened in front of Rosefinch Secondary's entrance. However, martial arts students nowadays love to go to Rosefinch's students' territory. When Wang Hui was playing finger guessing and drinking with his friends, he heard the waiter who came out from inside hurriedly tell his boss that someone in the private room had eaten a glass. People who loved martial arts were most interested in this kind of anecdote. After Wang Hui found out about the situation, he asked the restaurant owner, Su Bin, to invite the master who could eat glass to come out and perform for everyone. If he performed well, their meal would be on Wang Hui's tab. Su Bin knew that Wang Hui was a student of Glory Martial Arts School and did not dare to offend him. Therefore he used the opportunity of delivering food to invite Fang Yan, but he didn't expect Fang Yan's attitude to be so bad that he rejected him flatly. Su Bin was worried that the conflict between the two parties would bring disaster to the restaurant. After returning, he told Wang Hui that the guests in the private room were busy catching up with each other and could not come out to perform for the time being. Wang Hui was furious. He felt that he was being looked down upon and insulted. Thus, he led a group of students and barged into the private room while cursing. Su Bin tried to persuade them again and again, but he was still unable to quell the inexplicable anger of Wang Hui and the others, as well as the inexplicable feeling of being insulted. Wang Hui and the others were originally making trouble out of nothing. Now that Fang Yan asked them where their faces were, it gave them a reason to beat people up. Although they usually did not need a reason to beat people up, they always felt that it was not very exciting when they beat people up. During the nights of heavy rain, Wang Hui had stood in front of the window countless times, painfully thinking about why he felt so powerless. Later on he finally understood. They didn't beat people up openly and righteously enough. Because of their guilty conscience they could not get excited when they fought. If they had a more adequate reason to beat people up, if they had to beat people up no matter what, then wouldn't they be more into the character? Wang Hui understood. To Wang Hui, Fang Yan, who fought back verbally, was a pure and cute little angel. Just when they were about to sleep, someone took the initiative to give them a pillow. It really made them happy. Wang Hui stared at Fang Yan with a teasing look and said with a smile, "Bro, do you know who you are talking to? I can't even see your face, how would I know who you are?" Fang Yan said with a face full of sarcasm. "Just based on your buzz cut and your personality that likes to court death, I really can't associate you with any beast. Brother Hui, we have met someone who is not afraid of death. Hee, our glorious brothers have never been slapped in the face like this before. What? Which brother wants to go and spar with this pretty boy?" A big battle was about to break out. Su Bin was almost anxious. He stood between Wang Hui and Fang Yan and said with a pleading face, Big brothers, you are all my brothers. It is not easy for me to open a shop to support my family. Can you let me go? Today's expenses will all be on me. Just treat it as me treating you to a meal. Is that okay? Calm down, I will get someone to send you a few bottles of beer." Su Bin knew that these martial arts school students were young, but they were fierce and ruthless when they fought, as if they did not care about their lives. If he let them fight in the private room, his small shop would suffer heavy losses. If he allowed them to hurt the customers, things would become even more troublesome. Wang Hui sneered and scolded, "Who needs a sip of beer from you? Su Bin, you better hide far away. Otherwise our brothers have no eyes. If we hit you, just blame it on your bad luck." "Brother Wang, scram." Wang Hui kicked Su Bin, this annoying fellow, away. Wang Hui looked at Fang Yan, who was sitting motionless in his seat, and his heart was filled with even more anger. This brat was really daring. He had already announced Glorious Martial Arts School's name, and he was still as steady as Mount Tai. Clearly he did not put them in his eyes. Wang Hui turned to look at the brothers behind him and asked, "Who wants to go up and weigh in first?" "Me." A black fat boy stood up and said with a smile, "Brother Hui, leave the first round to me. I like to trample on this kind of soft and tender pretty boy." Fang Yan's face was delicate and his skin was white and tender. He indeed looked like the type that the black fat boy liked to trample on. But Fang Yan slapped the table and shouted angrily, "Who are you calling a pretty boy? If you have the guts, scold me again." "Pretty boy, so what if I'm scolding you?" The black fat boy said, unconvinced. "You can call me a pretty boy, but I have to correct you on something. Not only am I white, I'm also very talented. I'm a talented pretty boy," Fang Yan said. Which man didn't like being called a pretty boy? The black fat boy opened his mouth, not knowing how to continue. He practiced martial arts all day, so his literary skills were not good. Encountering this kind of literary ruffian, he was quite powerless to deal with him. "Old Black, why are you talking nonsense with him? Just beat him to the ground," someone urged from behind. The black fat boy thought about it and agreed. He couldn't win against him in words, so just beat him up. That was what he was good at. So he roared and sank his chi into his dantian. His body was like a small mountain crushing towards Fang Yan. The black fat boy was called Huang Dongxing, nicknamed Barbarian Bull. His martial arts were profound and exquisite, and his strength could be ranked in the top 3 among this group of people. When fighting, he was a strong meat shield and ordinary people really couldn't do anything to him. Barbarian Bull's momentum was fierce, and when he moved he was like a crazy iron bull rushing towards his target. At this moment Fang Yingying moved. He just moved his mouth and spat out a fishbone in his mouth. Ooh. The slender fishbone was like a small silver needle, flying straight towards Barbarian Bull's face. It was just a fishbone. Barbarian Bull didn't take it seriously at all. He didn't dodge and faced the fishbone head-on. Ah! Barbarian Bull screamed, and his body staggered towards the corner of the private room. Wang Hui and his companions were all stunned. It was just a fishbone. Was there a need for such a big reaction? This guy couldn't be so passive. Was he deliberately looking for an excuse to slip away? Barbarian Bull, aren't you a little too brat? A boy with a Hunan accent said aloud. The fight hasn't even started and you're already playing dead? It hurts. Barbarian Bull raised his head and a slender blood mark appeared on his face. The fishbone that Fang Yingying spat out had drilled into the flesh of his face and pierced his teeth. Everyone was shocked and looked at Fang Yingying with eyes full of surprise and fear. Wasn't this guy too powerful? Spitting out a fishbone could injure someone like this? Wang Hui was not only good at fighting but also had a very good eye. He knew that he couldn't do this move. Spitting could hurt people, and if it was just the strength of the mouth, it would cause almost zero damage to a martial artist like Barbarian Bull. However, even Barbarian Bull couldn't withstand it, which proved that this guy used Qigong. Experts who knew Qigong were rare in society. Even if they had a lot of people present, they wouldn't necessarily be able to gain any advantage. Wang Hui's eyes tightly stared at Fang Yingying and he asked in a deep voice, "Brother, where did you come from?" Fang Yingying laughed and said, "I don't have any background. I just saw that he was a fatso and I was also a fatso, so the two of us were a pair. I didn't expect him to be so weak. Why don't you try another one for me?" Wang Hui looked at Fang Yingying and then looked at the brothers behind him with fear and said, "Mountains and rivers will meet again. Today us brothers admit defeat. Next time we meet we'll have a good fight with you guys." Brilliant Martial School's name was awe-inspiring, and the school motto was also very down-to-earth. If you can win, then fight. If you can't win, then run. He waved his hand, indicating the brothers behind him to help Barbarian Bull up, and everyone ran. "Wait!" Fang Yen shouted. Wang Hui's heart suddenly jumped and he said, "Brother, what other advice do you have? First, don't call me brother. Second, I don't have any advice." Fang Yan's tone was very unkind as he said, "Don't talk to me about mountains and rivers will meet again. The mountain is so high and the river is so long, it's really difficult to meet again. Since we met today, let me give you a good beating." Chapter 101. Since we've met today, let me give you a good beating. Hearing this, Wang Hui had the urge to kneel down on the spot. Look how refreshing and satisfying these words are. Not only does it show that I'm very cultured, but it's also very novel to those who hear it. It had to be said that in this world there were many things that required talent. For example, acting cool. Wang Hui and his friends usually used the following two ways of acting cool. First, the fiery type. Second, the iceberg type. The so-called fiery type was when they were shirtless or rolled up their sleeves, shouting at others with their faces red and necks flushed. "Try and touch me, believe it or not, I'll cut you up, believe it or not, I'll beat you up until your mother can't recognize you. Brothers, get your weapons." The iceberg type of acting cool was slightly more technical, and it had certain requirements for the individual's appearance. Not everyone could use it. First of all, you couldn't be too ugly and your body couldn't be too fat. If you were a fat man with a wretched face, even if you pretended to be cold, ruthless and cruel as if you would kill a pig for fun when you had nothing to do, people might still laugh at you when they saw you. Your plate had to be bright and your bar had to be straight. Tall and straight, incomparably noble and elegant standing there. Don't look directly at the opponent's eyes, it's best to look at the top of his head, and a devilish sneer appearing at the corner of your mouth. Yes, the key was the word, devilish. Don't laugh foolishly and don't laugh randomly. You must show an arrogant attitude that you're a pile of dog shit and I don't care about you at all. What kind of smile can be called devilish? Who should I ask if you ask me? Look at yourself in the mirror and find the feeling. Also, he mustn't laugh out loud. If you make a sound, your acting cool style will immediately drop by 25%. After the facial movements were adjusted, all that was left was the voice attack. With a calm expression and a cold and arrogant voice he said, "Brothers, get your weapons and beat him up until his mother can't recognize you." Of course, whether it was the fiery type or the iceberg type, they were different routes to the same goal. In the end they still had to beat the opponent up. Wang Hui was a fan of the iceberg type. He felt that a reputable person like him should choose this more technically difficult way of showing off in order to show the outside world that he had a strategic plan and that everything was under control. However, after listening to Fang Yan's beating lines, he felt a sense of inferiority. He felt that Fang Yan's way of showing off was neither the Raging Fire nor the Iceberg Mountain style, but a way that was more advanced than the Raging Fire and the Iceberg Mountain style. The cultured and elegant style. His eyes were gentle, his face was smiling, and he spoke nicely when he said that he wanted to beat you up. You would be too embarrassed to refuse after hearing these words. An expert, Wang Hui praised in his heart. Therefore Wang Hui was even more unwilling to fight with Fang Yan. He looked at Fang Yan and said coldly, "What? You're not letting me leave? Is this restaurant owned by your family?" Fang Yan laughed and looked at Wang Hui. He felt that this guy was very interesting. When he came in he looked like he was the number one in the world and he could bully whoever he wanted. He wanted his brothers to beat him up at the slightest disagreement. In the end he kicked the iron plate that was Fang Yingying. After his brother was stabbed by a fishbone he became fearful and wanted to turn around and leave. This made Fang Yan feel very aggrieved in his heart. Why could the bad guys hit people whenever they wanted and leave when they couldn't beat them? Those good guys who couldn't beat them could only be bullied by them. Those good guys that they couldn't beat, were they just going to watch them leave? It was unfair. Therefore, no matter what, Fang Yan had to make him stay and beat him up today. "I don't own this restaurant and it's not yours either." Fang Yan pointed to the private room door that was about to collapse and said, "My friend and I were sitting and eating. What's the matter with you coming over and kicking my door?" Wang Hui glanced at Su Bin and Su Bin hurriedly said, It's okay. Anyway, the door has been broken for a long time. I was looking for someone to fix it. This is not a problem at all. Brothers, let's just forget about this matter, shall we? I will let the brothers who kicked the door pay for Boss Li's door, Wang Hui said. This door we will pay to fix it. But you insulted us, Fang Yan said. You came to kick the door when we were eating and you even wanted to rush over and beat us up. Isn't this insulting us? Wang Hui looked at the few dishes on Fang Yan's table and said to Su Bin, Boss Su, put the meal these brothers ate today on my tab. Although Wang Hui was talking to Su Bin, the content of his words was already apologizing to Fang Yan. Oh no, it's on me. It's all on me. Su Bin really wanted to keep the peace, but after seeing Wang Hui's murderous eyes he quickly changed his words and said, Okay, since Brother Hui wants to pay the bill, then put it on Brother Hui's tab. Fang Yan knocked on the table with his chopsticks and said, I don't have the habit of letting a bastard I don't know pay for me. My 2 juniors came all the way to Huaqing to find me. This is the first meal I'm treating them to in Huaqing. This meal I'll pay for it myself. Wang Hui's eyes narrowed and he looked at Fang Yan and asked, What? You don't want to let it go? Wang Hui could be considered to have a high IQ. The brothers behind him who were more hot-tempered directly opened their mouths and started scolding. Where did this wild dog come from? How dare he behave atrociously in front of us brilliant men? Brother Hui, why are you treating him to a meal? We brothers can't afford to lose face like this. We don't have much else but we have strength. Leave the money for your meal for us brothers to buy drinks. That's right. If we all attack together they might not be our match. I'll go out and call more brothers in. It's not that I don't want to let it go, it's a different matter, Fang Yan said. You made a mistake to me so I'll beat you up. Turning over a new leaf is something to do after you get beaten up. Wang Hui didn't say anything. His sharp eyes swept between Fang Yan, Fang Yingying and Fang Haohen's faces and bodies, weighing the approximate chances of his side winning if they were to fight. Fang Yingying seemed to be an expert. If he went up against him with the help of his 2 brothers, it wouldn't be hard to take him down. However, the strength of this pretty boy and that skinny tall guy was unknown, so the outcome was unknown. Wang Hui was young and full of vigor. He was a prideful person to begin with, and with his brothers fanning the flames behind him, Fang Yan's aggressiveness also made him stifle a bellyful of anger. He quietly put on a gauntlet on his right hand. For these martial arts school students who treated fighting as their daily routine, these offensive equipment were always carried around. We are students of Glory Martial School. The school is diagonally opposite the restaurant. You might not understand the situation of us martial arts school students. Although we usually fight fiercely in school if someone is bullied by outsiders, we will band together to help them get back at them. Wang Hui pointed at Barbarian Bull, whose face was still bleeding, and said, "You can injure one of our brothers, but can you injure all of our brothers? You can beat everyone in this private room, but can you beat everyone in Glory Martial School?" The more Wang Hui spoke, the more excited his body became, and his expression became impassioned. "This matter, we'll just leave it at that. Next time we meet, I'll treat you guys to a drink. Otherwise, the three of you can forget about leaving this restaurant today. Are you done?" Fang Yan asked. "I'm done," Wang Hui said. "Heroes and warriors *CK this guy." Fang Yan roared. "Stinking hooligan, even at this time you still dare to threaten people. I'm not someone who can't be subdued by force. The key is that you have to be strong enough." Fang Yingying was the first to jump up. This chubby fatso's movements were astonishingly fast, almost making it hard for the naked eye to follow. He clenched his hands into fists and punched Barbarian Bull, who was standing closest to him and hadn't had time to escape the battlefield, in the eye socket. Barbarian Bull grunted and fell backwards. The private room was very narrow. When Barbarian Bull fell backwards, he blocked the path of his two companions who were supporting him. Fang Yingying fought force with force. His body bounced up like a meatball and he used all his strength to kick Barbarian Bull's chest. Thump! Barbarian Bull was tall and heavy. Under his great strength, the two companions behind him fell to the ground before him. Then Barbarian Bull's body heavily pressed down. Ah! The sound of bones breaking came from the ground. When Fang Yingying made his move, Fang Haohan also made his move at the same time. He saw someone wearing a knuckle duster pouncing towards him. He picked up the glass cup on the table and threw it out. The scalding hot tea splashed on the body of the knuckle duster. Then he stuffed the glass cup in his hand into his mouth and fiercely bit it. Kacha! A sharp chip appeared on the glass cup. The bit that was bitten off was chewed and swallowed into his stomach. The remaining half of the glass cup became a sharp weapon. Fang Haohan held the sharp weapon in his hand and fiercely rushed towards the knuckle duster. Plang! The glass cup just happened to block the knuckle duster's attack. Fang Haohan kicked out. At this time the advantage of a kick was revealed. Before the knuckle duster could lift his leg, Fang Haohan's big foot had already stamped on his stomach. Bang! A muffled groan was heard. The knuckle duster's body was sent flying. Fang Yingying and Fang Haohan were like tigers entering a flock of sheep, rampaging around. Every punch landed on flesh. Every time they made a move there would be a mournful scream. Moreover, their movements were abnormally nimble. Those students from Glory Martial School had no way of touching their bodies. When the two of them stopped, there was only one student from Glory Martial School left standing in the private room. Wang Hui's eyes widened as he looked at the hero. His right hand that was holding the knuckle duster trembled slightly. "Call me brother," Wang Hui shouted at his companion who was standing stupidly at the door. That brother was dumbstruck and lost his normal human reaction. Chapter 102. Wang Hui knew that Fang Yingying was strong, but he didn't expect him to be so strong. Wang Hui didn't expect Fang Haohan to be so strong. He didn't expect him to be stronger than Fang Yingying. Heroes were so strong, then wasn't this guy who had been sitting there eating fish with tofu stronger? This time Wang Hui really looked at Fang Yan and valued Fang Yan. There was no longer any hope in his heart. Fang Yan spat out a fishbone, looked at Wang Hui's head and said, "Are you convinced?" Wang Hui stared at Fang Yan with a strange look and said, "You guys. Which sector you from?" "My family and Master Kai Quan." Fang Yan waved his hand and said, "Don't try to claim relationships. Even if there is a relationship, I will pretend that I don't know you." Fang Yan looked at the heroes and said, "This is the last one. Which one of you wants to fight?" Fang Yingying straightened his belly and said, "Junior Martial Uncle, let me do it. I'm fat, let me exercise and shake my fat." "Then you do it," Fang Yan said indifferently. There was no need to argue or hesitate over such a small matter. So, under the envious gaze of Fang Haohan, Fang Yingying stood in front of Wang Hui valiantly. Fang Yingying looked back at the table and said, "Let's hurry up. I'm in a hurry to eat." Wang Hui was hurt again. "This is a fight, okay? This is a duel, okay? Even if you want to hit me, you should respect me, okay?" Fang Yingying moved. His body rushed straight to Wang Hui as if he wanted to knock him down with his more than 180 kilograms of fat. Wang Hui's eyes were fierce. He gathered his strength and hit Fang Yingying's head with the fishbone in his hand. Fang Yingying's head was big and fat, so he was the perfect target. Whoosh. When Fang Yingxiong was about to get close to Wang Hui, he suddenly landed on one foot and turned 180 degrees. Can you imagine the scene of a chubby man dancing Little Swan on one foot? Yes, that was what Fang Yingying did. With a quick but definitely not beautiful turn, he easily dodged Wang Hui's fist attack and jumped to Wang Hui's side. Wang Hui quickly turned around and struck Fang Yingying's chin with an uppercut. In his opinion, his reaction could already be described as lightning fast. However, he was still a step too late. Halfway through his turn, Fang Yingxiong ruthlessly punched him in the ribs on his left side. Absolute speed suppression. In the face of Fang Yingying's double speed, Wang Hui was completely useless. He only felt his ribs go numb in an instant, followed by a tearing pain. As Wang Hui's body fell to the left, big fatso Fang Yingying jumped up and kicked him in the waist. At this time, the difference in speed between the two was even more obvious. Wang Hui only did a simple uppercut, but Fang Yingying had already done several moves in a row. Clang! Wang Hui's fallen body smashed a three-legged stool. The stool went under the table and slammed into the wall. Humph! Only then did Wang Hui cry out in pain. His head hit the chair and the skin broke. Blood seeped out and quickly soaked his short hair red. Fang Yingying pulled Wang Hui's leg and dragged his body away from the table. Then he sat back in his original position and shouted, "Fang Haohan, eat slowly. You've eaten all the fish." Everyone would have more or less the desire to destroy in their heart. Sometimes they would inexplicably want to smash everything in front of them. Because of the arrival of the heroes, Fang Yan was in a bad mood today. However, after Wang Hui's torment, he felt that his good mood was gradually recovering. Thank Wang Hui, thank those strangers who are willing to bring you happiness. Fang Yan helped Fang Yingying pick up a piece of fish and said, "Eat slowly. If there's not enough food, we'll order more." Fang Yingying nodded repeatedly and said, "Thank you, junior martial uncle." Su Bin stood in the corner of the box in a trance. Until now, he had not been able to fully wake up. When the two sides fought, Su Bin was anxious and afraid. He was anxious because if they smashed the cups, plates, tables, chairs and so on, how much damage would it be? He was afraid that if they accidentally hit him, wouldn't that be too unlucky for him? However, the battle ended just like that. The scene of heroes fighting wildly in his imagination did not appear. The scene of demons dancing wildly in his imagination did not appear. The scene of you throwing plates and I holding chairs and you chasing each other, you calling me son and I calling you great-grandson also did not appear in his imagination. The side with fewer people rushed into the side with more people. After a series of punches and kicks, the side with more people all fell to the ground and died. It was like a tiger rushing into a flock of sheep, like a harvester driving into a cornfield. It was like crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. It's not good at all. Su Bin thought in his heart. Su Bin looked at the students who were lying on the ground and howling. After hesitating for a while, he still braced himself and walked in front of Fang Yan. He said, "Sorry to disturb you. Big brother, these people have also been beaten up. Should we send them to the hospital? It would not be good if their vital organs were hurt." Fang Yan raised his head and glanced at Su Bin. He said, "It makes sense. Give me another bowl of fish with tofu." "Fish with tofu?" "Yes. Give me another bowl of fish with tofu," Fang Yan said with certainty. Su Bin nodded and said, I'll add it now. He carefully passed through the many bodies on the floor of the private room, trying his best not to step on these martial arts school students. Don't look at them lying on the ground now. Usually they were the ones who made others lie on the ground. Su Bin came in again. He looked at Fang Yan with an apologetic smile and said, "Big brother, the fish with tofu has been added. What do you think of these students?" "They are hostages," Fang Yan said. "What did you say?" Su Bin jumped in fright. Not only did these three guys beat people, but they also wanted to kidnap them. But how could there be a reason to kidnap a group of people? Even if they were kidnapped, there was no way to take them away, right? You heard it just now. They went to get reinforcements, Fang Yan said. That's right. Su Bin was anxious. Brother, I say you guys should hurry up and leave. The students of glory are very fierce. If they surround you, go where? Fang Yan said with a smile. I work here at Rosefinch Secondary. Where can I go? You are a student of Rosefinch. You don't look like a teacher? Su Bin asked doubtfully. There was one more sentence that he didn't dare to say. Fang Yan didn't look like a teacher either. He looked too young. I'm a teacher. A language teacher, Fang Yan said with a smile. I'm Fang Yan. I'm very famous in the school. You'll know once you ask around. I'll ask around later, Su Bin said fawningly. But I don't like you, Fang Yan said. You just invited my friend out to perform. Fang Yan pointed at Fang Haohen and said, he can indeed eat glass. But do you think his kung fu is used for performance? No. Su Bin shook his head quickly. Fang Yan glanced at Wang Hui, who was lying on the ground, and said, didn't you want to see a performance? Are you satisfied with this performance? Wang Hui's eyes were fierce, but he didn't dare to fight back on the spot. He knew that he was screwed today. His kung fu wasn't on the same level as these three people. This is martial arts. Fang Yan suddenly raised his voice. Fang Yingying and Fang Haohen, who were burying their heads in food, were shocked. The students of glory who were lying on the ground moaning or pretending to moan also trembled. Is martial arts for you to drink and liven things up? Everyone was silent. Fang Yan pushed his chair away and stood up. He walked in front of Wang Hui, looked at him and said, bullying businessmen, extorting students, doing these dirty things all day? Is this the ultimate purpose of your kung fu? Do you have the pride and dignity of a martial artist? Do you have the martial art moral training and a little bit of shame? When your body is strong, your brain is atrophied. Don't you need face? Do you believe that I won't cripple your kung fu? Wang Hui and the others looked at Fang Yan in shock. This guy could cripple people's kung fu? Just like the peerless masters in TV and movies? Even Fang Yingying and Fang Haohen looked at Fang Yan with curiosity, as if they had discovered a new continent. Fang Yan smiled awkwardly and said, I accidentally said it. I often see the sentence on TV and wanted to try it. If I break your hands and feet, do you think you'll still have kung fu? Everyone was shocked. So what he meant by crippling people's kung fu was breaking people's hands and feet. It was too cruel and not advanced. There's always someone stronger than you, and there's always someone stronger than you. You think you're very good at fighting, but what if you meet people like us who are even better at fighting? You beat people down and we beat you down. Don't you feel humiliated? Don't you feel uncomfortable? I don't care if you feel humiliated or not. Anyway, I can't feel it, Fang Yan said. I've never been defeated by anyone before. Fang Yingying and Fang Haohen spat out the fish in their mouths at the same time. Seeing Fang Yan's murderous gaze directed at him, Fang Yingying hurriedly shouted, water. Give me water. So spicy. This fish is too spicy. Fang Haohen didn't like to talk, but his brain's reaction speed wasn't slow. He picked up the teacup in front of him and gulped it down. I ate a chili, Fang Haohen said after finishing the water in the teacup in one gulp. At this moment, a commotion came from outside the private room. Oh my God, so many students from Glory Martial School. They're running over here. Glory Martial School is going to beat people up. There's going to be a good show to watch. Su Bin ran over to open the window of the private room and saw a dense crowd of Glory Martial School students surrounding his little restaurant. Something big is going to happen. Su Bin was anxious. Chapter 103. Something big was about to happen. Just as Wang Hui had said, the students of the martial arts school were very united. It was the peak time for meals, and most of the students gathered at the school cafeteria or the restaurant at the entrance. Hearing that a classmate from their school had been beaten up in a restaurant, countless Glory Martial Arts School students swarmed over from all directions. Zhou Xian. This little restaurant, which was originally unknown, had suddenly become the focus of tonight's Tianfu Road. Who hadn't put brotherhood first? Who hadn't been hot-blooded in their youth? More and more Glory Martial Arts School students gathered at the entrance of Zhou Xian's restaurant, attracting even more onlookers. Glory Martial Arts School's disciplinary team and Rosefinch Secondary Security Team were all alarmed. Rosefinch Secondary Security Team tried their best to expel the students from their school, not letting them get involved in this unprovoked war. When Glory Martial Arts School's disciplinary team heard that a student from their school had been beaten up by an unknown person, they immediately cursed and became a member of the revenge group, threatening to boil the person alive and burn his bones to ashes. Coach, it's that one. Wang Hui and the others are still being detained. The four-eyed guy who ran out to report the news pointed to the window upstairs near the street and said to Coach Zhang Chen beside him. Zhang Chen had been a 3-time MMA champion in Huaqing. After retiring, he came to help out at the martial arts school founded by his friend. Because of his strength and loyalty, he had a lot of prestige in Glory Martial Arts School. Sometimes even the principal and vice principals of Glory Martial Arts School couldn't solve a problem. As long as they pushed him out, they would get a satisfactory answer. Zhang Chen had a bad habit, and that was drinking. Every time he drank, he would get drunk. Because of drinking, he would miss a lot of things. Therefore, Zhang Chen, who had worked at Glory Martial Arts School for nearly 10 years, was still a MMA coach. Of course, he had been a trainee, then a senior, and now an ace. It could be considered a small upgrade. It was also because of Zhang Chen's appearance that Glory Martial Arts School was able to gather so many people in such a short time. Zhang Chen hiccuped, squinted his eyes and looked at the window upstairs, asking, "How many people?" 3, the four-eyed guy replied. "Very troublesome? Quite powerful." Four-eyed guy felt that it was necessary for him to speak more clearly. Otherwise, it would be his responsibility if someone on their side suffered a loss. Only 2 people took action, and Wang Hui and the others were all taken down. Zhang Chen became spirited and said with a smile, "Interesting. I didn't expect that there would be a few powerful dragons in our little pond. Shout, tell them to come down. Let's spar with him." Hence, the students of Glory Martial School started to shout down from downstairs. "The one who hit me upstairs, come down quickly. Come down and fight 300 rounds with me. Don't be a coward. If we don't go down now, we're going to charge up and attack even more heavily. I told you to go down. What should we do now? I'm afraid they won't give up." Hearing the shouts from downstairs, Su Bin's face was full of fear, and he anxiously paced around in the private room. Wang Hui, who was lying on the ground, and his companions beside him looked at each other. Everyone's eyes were filled with ridicule and joy at the prospect of revenge. "They're going to be out of luck." They communicated with their eyes. "They're going too far," Fang Yan said as he stood by the window and looked at the foul-mouthed martial arts school students. "They're going too far," Fang Yingying said in agreement. "When has our Fang family been bullied so pathetically before? When has our Fang family, the descendant of Taiji, ever been pointed at and scolded like this? We want glory, we want to fight, we definitely can't be cowards." "Yes, that's right." Fang Yingying and Fang Haohen nodded repeatedly. "We can't just let this matter go like this," Fang Yan said. "We definitely can't." Fang Yingying and Fang Haohen looked agitated. Fang Yan glanced down the window again, his eyes fierce, and said coldly, "Call the police." Fang Yingying agreed and nimbly took out his phone from his pocket. The 2 of them cooperated very well, and there was no pause in between. Su Bin originally wanted to persuade Fang Yan to turn a big problem into a small one. He wanted him to go out and apologize, say some soft words, pay for the medical fees of the students, and set up a few tables of food and wine, so that he wouldn't have to suffer. When he heard Fang Yan say something about the Fang family and the descendant of Taiji, he cursed in his heart. It seemed that a fierce battle was inevitable today, and things were developing towards an uncontrollable situation. But why did he call the police? Wasn't that what he was trying to say to persuade them? Say it yourself and make me, the mediator, look stupid and incompetent, okay? Su Bin wanted to confirm if he had heard wrong, but Fang Yingying had already taken out his phone and started to call the police. Comrade police, come and save us. My friends and I are eating in a restaurant and we're surrounded by hooligans." "How many people?" "There are hundreds of them. They've surrounded the entire restaurant. It's opposite Rosefinch Secondary, and it's not good for something like this to happen at the school's entrance. Yes, they're shouting that they're going to charge in, and we're trying our best to block the door and not let them in. Fang Yingying finally left a lingering awe that would leave people with infinite imagination, and hung up the phone decisively. Bang! The door of the private room was kicked open again. A group of fully armed policemen barged into the private room and shouted loudly, squat down, all of you, squat down with your hands on your head." Fang Yan immediately squatted down with his hands raised high. Fang Yingying and Fang Haohan followed suit and squatted down beside Fang Yan. Before Su Bin could react, he was pressed to the ground by a policeman and half of his face was on the ground. What happened? What's wrong with these people? A middle-aged policeman pointed at Wang Hui and the others lying on the ground and asked. "Police comrade, you've arrested the wrong person." "The wrong person?" Fang Yingying said with a smile. "We're the victims. We're all victims." "You're the victim?" The middle-aged policeman's eyes were full of hostility as he looked at the little fatso. "You're the victim, what are they?" "They're the perpetrators," Fang Yingying said as a matter of fact. "They rushed into the private room and wanted to beat people, but we intercepted them." "Beat who?" "Me," Fang Yingying said. He pointed at Fang Yan and Fang Haohan and said, "They wanted to beat them." The middle-aged policeman sneered and said, "Not only did you successfully intercept them, but you also beat them up, right?" "Yes, that's it," Fang Yingying nodded and said. He thought that the quality of the police nowadays was still very high. Although they had just arrived at the scene, they had already seen the ins and outs of the matter. "Pop." The middle-aged policeman slapped the table and shouted angrily, "Do you think this is a game? They had so many people to beat you, but in the end they were beaten to this state?" "That's the truth," Fang Yan said. "They came over and wanted to beat people, but we successfully defended them. After they lost, their classmates surrounded the restaurant. They were all students from Glory Martial School." Fang Yan had a general understanding of Glory Martial School, but he knew that to be able to rush over so quickly after they called the police, it was obvious that the police station wasn't far from here. They should have a clearer understanding of Glory Martial School. Hearing Fang Yan's words, the middle-aged policeman's face calmed down a little. "I can't just listen to what you say. We will investigate this matter clearly." "We still have evidence," Fang Yan said. He pointed at Fang Yingying and said, "It was my friend who called the police. You can check the number of the police at the manual desk." The middle-aged policeman nodded to a young policeman beside him, and that policeman immediately made a phone call to inquire. Very quickly, the number of the police was reported back by the manual desk. As soon as they made another call, the phone in Fang Yingying's pocket rang. "I have other evidence," Fang Yan said. He took out his phone from his pocket and played the video. He pointed at the scene of Glory Martial School's students standing downstairs and shouting crazily and said, Look, are these students proper? How can they treat a teacher like this? Even if I'm not a teacher, they can't scold me like this, right? If I had impulsively run down, wouldn't someone have died tonight?" From the standpoint of a teacher, we naturally want to protect our students from any harm. However, we can't just leave them be. Otherwise, these students, wouldn't that increase your workload in the future? Right? I can't watch helplessly as my students fall to such a state. You're a teacher. The middle-aged policeman looked at Fang Yan and asked. "Yes. My name is Fang Yan, I'm a language teacher at Rosefinch Secondary," Fang Yan said. He knew that most of the time, the outside world still had a good impression of the profession of a teacher. The middle-aged policeman was overjoyed. He pointed at Fang Yan and said with a smile, "Your teacher Fang Yan? Teacher Fang Yan from class 9? You know me?" Fang Yan asked curiously. "Qiao Lei, class 9 student. You know Mr. Fang, right?" Fang Yan carefully sized up the middle-aged policeman in front of him. He saw that this person's facial features were somewhat similar to Qiao Lei's. He said happily, "You're Qiao Lei's father?" Qiao Zhenya smiled awkwardly and said, "I'm Qiao Lei's uncle. His parents work abroad and rarely come back. Qiao Lei lives at my house. He often tells me about Mr. Fang's heroic deeds. These guys actually bullied Mr. Fang. They're really looking for death." "I see," Fang Yan said with a smile. "Tonight's incident." Qiao Zhenya glanced at Wang Hui and the others and said, "Students of Glory Martial Arts School treat fighting as their daily routine. It's not the first time we've dealt with this kind of thing. Mr. Fang, don't worry. Leave this matter to us." You've worked hard, Fang Yan said gratefully. Wang Hui and his classmates were taken away by the police. At the same time, Glory Martial Arts School's coach, Zhang Chen, who gathered the crowd to cause trouble, was also taken away. Because those students were brought here by him, they were also loudly cursing at his request. Glory Martial Arts School's students were like a group of dragons without a leader. Each of them stood there stupidly, not knowing how to deal with the situation in front of them. Fang Yan came out of the small restaurant and walked straight towards the square formation of Glory Martial Arts School's students. The students persisted for a bit, but soon spontaneously dispersed and opened up a path. Fang Yan walked through the crowd. This scene was like Glory Martial Arts School's students lining the street to welcome the triumphant return of a hero. Fang Yan waved his hand and shouted, "Everyone go back, go back. The most important thing for students is to study well." Chapter 104. Police Station. Tianhe Branch Office. There was a cigarette between his fingers. The smoke emitted quickly filled the small interrogation room with smoke. There was a pile of extinguished cigarette butts in the ashtray. Zhang Chen, who rarely smoked, was especially addicted to cigarettes today. He felt that there was a stuffiness in his chest that he couldn't vent. Xianxia couldn't take it anymore. He walked over to open the window of the interrogation room to get some fresh air. "Captain Qiao, what's the meaning of this? We didn't provoke anyone. A student is going to celebrate his birthday. We were just going to have a birthday drink. Is this also illegal?" "Have a birthday drink?" Qiao Xinye sneered. "Coach Zhang, this isn't the first time we've dealt with each other. Some things are better to talk about openly. If you were really going to drink a student's birthday drink, why would I bring you here? Do I have nothing better to do? Let me ask you, what's going on with the Glory students in the private room? What's going on with so many Glory students surrounding the entrance of the restaurant? Even charging you for disturbing public order is considered a light punishment. A student from Glory Martial Arts School was beaten up in the restaurant's private room. I wanted to ask Captain Qiao what's going on. You're a police officer. Shouldn't you be the one to investigate this? As for the students at the entrance of the restaurant, they just happened to bump into each other. They just stood at the entrance for a while. How big of a deal could it be? See for yourself." Qiao Xinye handed over his phone. Zhang Chen took the phone and saw that there was a video on the screen. He pressed the play button on the video. Then he and his students stood at the entrance of the restaurant, insulting and attacking the people in the private room, shouting for them to come down and get beaten up. The sound and image were clearly displayed in front of him. Pop. Zhang Chen slammed the phone on the table and shouted angrily, "Too treacherous. They actually dared to secretly record a video. This is a means of self-protection. Why can't they record a video?" Qiao Xinye said sarcastically. He picked up his cell phone from the table and said, "My wife bought this cell phone for me. If I break it, you have to compensate me." Zhang Chen sighed and said, "Senior Marshal brother, I was tricked this time. You have to think of a way to help me." "Help you?" Qiao Xinye sneered. "The witness and material evidence are all here. If we don't handle this fairly, won't they have anything to say? Besides, I can't do something like siding with your glorious martial school. Don't you know the morals of your glorious martial school students?" Qiao Xinye and Zhang Chen were from the same sect, but the paths they took were completely different. Zhang Chen was more talented than Qiao Xinye in Sonda boxing. After winning several championships in Sonda, he went to Glory Martial Arts School to be a coach. On the other hand, Qiao Xinye quit early and relied on his own efforts to become a police officer. After many years of hard work, he had become the squadron leader of the Tianhe police station. His rank wasn't too high, but he had a lot of power. Zhang Chen frowned and said, "What's the background of the other party? You didn't even know who they were and you went to beat them up with so many people?" Qiao Xinye said, suppressing his anger. "I drank a lot at that time. Someone ran over and said that a student from the martial arts school was beaten up. I slammed the table and yelled for my brothers to come with me to get back at them. In the end, so many people came," Zhang Chen said with some regret. "You also know my temper. It's easy to mess things up when I drink too much. You know that it's easy to mess things up when you drink too much, yet you don't quit drinking." Zhang Chen smiled bitterly. He touched his ribs and said, I can't. It hurts here. The knife wound back then was too vicious. Xianxia knew about Zhang Chen's past. He sighed softly and said, the person in the private room is Fang Yan, a teacher at Rosefinch Secondary. Fang Yan? Zhang Chen thought about it a few times and said, this name sounds familiar. I should have heard of it somewhere. You must have heard of it, Xianxia said with absolute certainty. A few days ago, a Japanese inspection group came to Rosefinch Secondary. One of the Japanese students cheated in a fencing competition and angered Mr. Fong. He jumped up and sent the person flying. My nephew told me dozens of times. I've heard of his name. Your Glory and Rosefinch are so close. How could you not have heard of him? Zhang Chen suddenly understood and said, so it's him. It's rumored that he's amazing. I was going to go and challenge him. What did you say? Xianxia was furious. It's just a spar, Zhang Chen said indifferently. You know how I am. I have good wine and a good opponent. If I don't enjoy myself, it'll be worse than killing me. What if he doesn't want to compete with you? Then I'll force him to compete with me. Zhang Chen. Brother, you can't persuade me on this. Fang Yan originally wanted to live with a beauty, but now a hero came. Lu Chaoga's courtyard had 2 bedrooms. In order to repay Lu Chaoga's selfless help, Fang Yan once proposed to each live in a room with her. Lu Chaoga refused, but the hero readily agreed. The hero's residence was settled, but Fang Yan had a new problem to worry about. What should he do in the future? He had to find a job for them. Otherwise, how could his salary be enough to support the expenses of the 3 of them if they were to sit idle and eat? Besides, his drunkard senior brother had asked the heroes and warriors to look for him because he wanted the 2 of them to gain experience in society. How could they gain experience? It was obviously impossible for them to perform on the streets and eat glass as a street performer. He could ask them to be security guards for Rosefinch, but the school wasn't hiring. Fang Yan thought about it, but he still couldn't think of a feasible way. Thus he found his phone and dialed Lu Xiaoga's number. Lu Xiaoga's voice was a little hoarse. He didn't know if it was a throat problem or a cold. What's the matter? Lu Xiaoga asked. Principal Lu, did I disturb your rest? Fang Yan asked with a smile. Tell me. Here's the thing. I have 2 friends coming from their hometown to find me. I want to find a job for them. But I'm not familiar with watching. How can I find a job for them? So, I want to ask Principal Lu for help. You have a lot of connections. As long as you're willing, you can arrange a job for them with just a word. Lu Xiaoga was silent. Principal Lu, this is a small matter that can't be any more trivial. You can take care of it when you have time. Don't waste too much energy on it. You're a woman who can do great things. It's getting late. Principal Lu, rest early. Don't stay up late. Take care of your health, Fang Yan said sincerely, fulfilling a subordinate's concern and care for his superior's health. After hanging up the phone, Fang Yan closed his eyes happily. When you encounter a problem you can't solve, send it to the people who can. Early morning. The hero and the hero were practicing the cross plum blossom steps in the yard. Fang Yan was trimming the plants inside and outside the house. This was one of the 3 conditions that Lu Xiaoga put forward when she borrowed the house from him. He couldn't let this woman have an excuse to take back the house. The 3 of them were covered in hot sweat. After returning to their rooms and taking a shower, Fang Yan poured the medicinal concoction that he had brewed on the stove into a thermos cup. He waved at the heroes and warriors and said, "Let's go and have breakfast." So the hero and the hero quickly followed. They were already hungry. After eating breakfast in the school cafeteria, the hero and the hero went back to practice. Fang Yan walked to the administrative building with the thermos cup. At the door of Lu Xiaoga's office, Fang Yan took the initiative to greet the beautiful secretary, Xiao Meng. "Good morning, Xiao Meng." "Good morning, Mr. Fang." Xiao Meng saw the thermos cup in Fang Yan's hand and asked with a smile, "Is this a breakfast of love for me?" Fang Yan shook his head and asked, "Has Headmaster Lu come to work yet?" "I just came in." Xiao Meng looked at Fang Yan and asked with a surprised face, "Are you going to give Headmaster Lu breakfast?" Headmaster Lu Xiaoga was the famous ice queen of the school. She had never been close to any young man. Did Fang Yan want to pursue Headmaster Lu? Wasn't this guy's guts a little too fat? Fang Yan waved his hand and said, "What does a child know?" Fang Yan didn't care what Xiaoming was thinking. He went over and knocked on the door of Lu Chaoga's office. "Come in please." Lu Chaoga's voice came out. Her voice was hoarse, not as concise and crisp as usual. When Fang Yan pushed the door and entered, Lu Chaoga was standing in the corner and trimming a potted plant. Fang Yan said with a smile, "Headmaster Lu really loves flowers. Among the people I know you are the first." Lu Chaoga was wearing a black professional suit. Inside the tailored uniform was a snow-white vest. The outer coat was serious and the inner lining was relaxed. It didn't look old-fashioned or too casual. Lu Chaoga was a natural clothes rack. Of course, the key was that she had a good-looking face. A good-looking person would look good in any clothes. The scissors in Lu Chaoga's hand stopped. She turned to look at Fang Yan and asked, "What's the matter?" "Headmaster Lu, I called you last night and heard something wrong with your voice. I chose a few Chinese herbs and made a pot of herbal tea for you. This tea can cure the early cold, moisturize the heart and lungs and protect the throat. Try it. If the effect is good, I'll make a few more pots for you." Headmaster Lu stared at Fang Yan calmly and didn't speak. Fang Yan handed over the teacup and said, "Headmaster Lu, don't worry. I didn't make medicine for you to ask you to do something for me. I just respect your character and thank you for your care for me all the time." Lu Chaoga took the thermos and looked at Fang Yan and said, "Thank you for your medicine. I can't do it for you." Chapter 105. The wicked will be tortured by the wicked, and the bitch will not let him take advantage of anything. This was the only way that Lu Chaoga could think of to deal with people like Fang Yan. Looking at Fang Yan's stunned expression, Lu Chaoga asked, "Is there anything else?" "No." Fang Yan said. "Nothing. I'm very busy." Lu Chaoga waved the scissors in her hand and gave a euphemistic order for him to leave. "Oh yes, Principal Lu is very busy and I happen to have classes in the first 2 periods. Fang Yan only then reacted. "I still have to go to class with the students, so I won't bother Principal Lu." He looked at the thermos cup in Lu Chaoga's hand and said, "Principal Lu, you must drink this medicinal tea while it's hot, don't forget." "I'll remember," Lu Chaoga said expressionlessly. "Then I'm really leaving." Fang Yan smiled shyly and turned to walk out of Lu Chaoga's office. When Xiaoming saw Fang Yan come out, her first reaction was to see if his hands were empty. When she found that the thermos cup in Fang Yan's hand had disappeared, her eyes widened and she asked in surprise, "Fang Yan, Principal Lu, Shu." Fang Yan made a shushing gesture to her and whispered, "It's good that you know, don't say it." Xiaoming nodded and looked at Fang Yan with a complicated expression. Originally she had some small admiration and intentions for Fang Yan. She thought that with more and more contact, they would slowly become an enviable couple. Unexpectedly, Fang Yan's target turned out to be her boss and idol, Principal Lu Chaoga. Why did Principal Lu accept his breakfast of love? She had never accepted gifts from men. In the past, when someone sent her expensive flowers or potted plants, she directly handed them to the office to deal with. She looked at Fang Yan's receding figure and felt a little sour in her heart. It was as if he had just eaten an unripe green date. Lu Chaoga didn't know what the 2 young men and women were thinking. She put the thermos cup that Fang Yan had brought over on the windowsill, and then continued to trim the welcome pine with scissors. In fact, Lu Chaoga didn't like the welcome pine tree because there were too many people there. It had almost become a standard feature of a company or business owner's office. No matter how elegant an object was, as long as many people owned it, it would become vulgar. For example, RMB. Everyone was playing with it and everyone liked it. However, everyone felt that it was too tacky to talk about money. But if you have a big carat diamond or a rare gem in your hand, then no matter how noble the occasion is, it will not be demeaning to speak of it or show it. It will only add to your endless elegance. However, this welcome pine tree was very different from other welcome pine trees. The welcome pine tree, which was commonly seen in the market, would try to stretch out its branches and leaves, like people stretching out their arms to welcome guests from afar. When Lu Chaoga found this welcome pine tree in the flower market, it was abandoned in the corner by its owner. The reason why it was abandoned was that it didn't have branches to extend out to welcome guests. Who would buy a welcome pine tree that didn't want to welcome guests? However, Lu Chaoga fell in love with it at first sight. She felt that this welcome pine tree, which didn't look luxuriant and too straight without branches, looked like a person. Fang Yan. In the Taekwondo dojo, Fang Yan was infuriated by Chiba Haomu and suddenly jumped out to beat him up. After beating him up, he stood alone in the center of the dojo with a thin body and a cold expression. Didn't he look exactly like this welcoming pine? The welcome pine tree she trimmed was not willing to extend its arms and bow to welcome guests. Who had Fang Yan ever welcomed? 10 minutes later, Lu Chaoga put down the scissors and carefully looked at the work she had just finished. There were still some flaws, but it was time to go to work. She liked flowers and potted plants, but she would never use her working time to do these things. Most of the time she used the time before work or during her break. Lu Chaoga put the scissors on the windowsill and went to the bathroom to wash her hands. Then she sat on the chair and began to work. Every morning when she worked, she would first deal with the emails from the day before. This was a habit she had developed when she worked in the United States. Her throat was extremely itchy, so she immediately covered her mouth with a tissue and coughed. She coughed so hard that it seemed like her lungs would never stop. Her face turned purple and she was worried that she would vomit her lungs out if she opened her mouth. She took out some cough water from her bag and was about to spray it into her mouth, but she stopped just in time when she was about to press it. Her eyes turned to the purple thermos on the windowsill again. It stood there quietly, not at all as ostentatious and strange as its owner. After hesitating for a while, Lu Chaoga walked over, picked up the thermos and unscrewed the cap. It wasn't like what she had imagined, where she could smell an unpleasant herbal smell when she opened the lid. Not only was it not unpleasant, but there was a fragrance of herbs. The medicine was not the black color she was familiar with, but a translucent orange-yellow color. It was like the first brew of ripe pu or tea soup. Is this medicine or tea? Lu Chaoga thought in her heart. The color was tempting and the fragrance assailed her nostrils. Lu Chaoga couldn't help but take a sip. A warm and cool feeling went straight into her mouth, and before she could savor it carefully, it slipped down her throat. The thick phlegm deep in her throat that she couldn't cough out came into contact with the tea soup, and she immediately surrendered and became a deserter. The burning and itchy feeling quickly disappeared. Lu Chaoga was overjoyed and drank the whole cup of tea in one gulp. Her mouth was watering and she felt refreshed. It actually gave her the urge to have another bowl. The high fever and cough caused by the inflammation of her throat had been tormenting her for 2 days and 2 nights. Last night when Fang Yan called her, she was coughing so hard that she couldn't fall asleep. She took a lot of anti-inflammatory drugs and although it was getting better, she didn't fully recover. Fang Yan's tea soup was simply her life-saving elixir. She really didn't want to suffer like this anymore. Not only was her body uncomfortable, but it also affected the progress of her work. After cleaning the thermos, she called the secretary Xiao Meng in and said to Xiao Meng, "Give the thermos to Mr. Fang Yan and ask him to send another cup tomorrow morning." "A principal." Xiao Meng nodded and quickly took the thermos. When leaving Lu Chaoga's office, she couldn't help but sneak a glance at Lu Chaoga. There was an irrepressible joy and happiness on her face. Principal Lu is in love. Xiao Meng thought in her heart. When Zhang Qin was teaching the students how to fight, someone shouted at the door of the classroom, "Coach Zhang, someone is looking for you." Zhang Qin looked back and said to the students, "You are free to practice. Don't be lazy. If I see anyone being lazy, you are not allowed to eat tonight. Prepare to run 50 laps on the field." In brilliant martial arts school, Zhang Qin was famous for being strict with the students. Everyone promised that they wouldn't be lazy. When Zhang Qin walked out of the classroom, he found that 3 young people wanted to see him. To be more precise, 3 young Rosefinch students wanted to see him. Although they weren't wearing Rosefinch's school jacket, they were wearing the school's pants. Zhang Qin looked at them vigilantly and asked, "Who are you? Why are you looking for me?" Could it be that he had a conflict with Fang Yan last night, and today his students came to take revenge for their teacher? The problem was these 3 students. From their crooked posture, he could see that their lower bodies weren't stable. He could probably knock them all down in 10 seconds. These kinds of people wanted to help his teacher get back at him. However, what Zhang Qin didn't understand was that last night, it was clearly their brilliant martial arts school that was at a disadvantage. Why would Rosefinch be dissatisfied? "Are you teacher Zhang Qin?" Zheng Guodong asked with a smile, a fawning look on his face. "Who are you?" Zhang Qin asked. I'm Jing Guodong, Jing Guodong said. My dad is Jing Tiancheng, Rosefinch Secondary School board member. Jing Guodong knew that if he only said his name, Zhang Chen probably wouldn't put him in his eyes at all. However, if he said his father's name, Zhang Chen couldn't help but look at him in a different light. He had used this move countless times and it worked every time. Jing Guodong pointed at Li Yang and Qin Tao and said, "They're my friends. Why are you looking for me?" Zhang Chen was even more confused. Why was Jing Tiancheng's son looking for him? To recruit him as a bodyguard? "We heard about what happened last night," Jing Guodong said. Zhang Chen frowned and said, "What? You want to take revenge for your teacher? I'm afraid the three of you aren't qualified, right?" "Teacher Zhang, you misunderstood," Jing Guodong explained with a smile. Seeing that Jing Guodong was still brooding over what happened last night, he knew that they were right to come. "We're very dissatisfied with some of Fang Yan's practices in the school. This guy is a beast in human clothing. On the surface he says one thing but in the dark he does another. The teachers and students in the school don't like him. We think if Teacher Zhang wants to find Fang Yan to compare notes, we can help to provide some convenience. If Teacher Zhang needs, we can even trick him to come out to the place you specify." Zhang Chen's eyes narrowed and said, "You mean, you want me to challenge Fang Yan and teach him a lesson? Is that right? You're his students?" "Yes. We're all students of Class 9. But we won't admit that we're his students," Li Yang said angrily. "We won't admit that he's our teacher. He doesn't deserve it. Isn't the teacher-student relationship the best?" Zhang Chen grinned. "It's not that he doesn't deserve it, it's that you don't deserve it." Jing Guodong was dumbfounded. This was different from what they had imagined. Chapter 106. It shouldn't be like this, the plot shouldn't be like this. This morning, when Jing Guodong, Li Yang and Qin Tao heard about the conflict between Fang Yan and the students of Glory Martial Arts School while eating in Chu Xianqing, and how the ace coach of Glory Martial Arts School, Zhang Chen, brought many students to surround the restaurant, and how the police came out to take the troublemakers away, they immediately made detailed and accurate fantasies and deductions about the subsequent development of this matter. When Glory Martial Arts School's coach Zhang Chen was suppressing a belly full of anger and trying to take revenge on Fang Yan, they appeared like a timely rain and offered their huge selfless help. Plus, they had a common enemy, Fang Yan, so both sides hit it off and had a good chat. Coach Zhang Chen warmly pulled their hands and wanted to keep them for lunch, but they refused with the reason that they had another place to go to at noon. But Zhang Chen was a rough person who practiced martial arts, saying that if they didn't accept his invitation, it would be not giving him face. For the sake of the same ideal and goal, they reluctantly stayed. During the meal, each person only drank a bottle of beer, not more, to avoid messing things up. Why didn't Zhang Chen act according to the script at all? "Teacher Zhang, are you okay?" Jing Guodong asked with a face full of doubt. There was no reason. Why did he suddenly become so fierce to his benefactors? "Are you crazy?" Zhang Chen said with a cold smile. No wonder people say that the quality of education at Vermilion Bird Academy has been getting worse and worse these past few years. The students that come out are getting worse and worse. Even trash like you can get in. No wonder this school is getting worse and worse. Although the students of our Glory Martial Arts School are a group of rough people who practice martial arts, no one would do something as beastly as inviting others to beat up their own teacher. Are you still human? Cruel and unscrupulous is the description of you guys, right? Teacher Zhang, don't you have enmity with Fang Yan? Why are you speaking up for him? Qin Tao also found it hard to understand. This guy was really stupid. Could it be that he couldn't even tell who was truly good to him? "I have no enmity with Fang Yan," Zhang Chen shouted angrily. "We just had some conflicts. He made me lose face, so I'll go to his door to get back at him. But I will go there openly and fight with him fair and square. I don't need the help of you bastards whose conscience has been eaten by dogs. Who the hell are you? Do you think that everyone in the world is as shameless as you? Zhang Chen, I'm warning you." Jing Guodong pointed at Zhang Chen and cursed. Bang! Zhang Chen stretched out his hand at lightning speed and grabbed the finger that Jing Guodong was pointing at his nose. "Do you believe that I won't break your bones?" Zhang Chen glared at him and said angrily. Zheng Guodong only felt that the finger that Zhang Chen grabbed was getting tighter and tighter. It was burning with pain as if it was about to be squeezed off. Seeing Zhang Chen's terrifying appearance that looked like he was about to bite someone, Zheng Guodong began to feel fear from the bottom of his heart. His face was pale and he said shakily, "Don't help? If you don't want us to help, then forget it. We were just saying." Zhang Chen grabbed Zheng Guodong's finger and didn't let go. His sharp eyes stared into Zheng Guodong's eyes, as if he was considering whether or not to break his finger. "Hurry and let go of Zheng, don't bring trouble to yourself in this school." Li Yang shouted anxiously. "Zhang Chen, if you dare to touch Zheng, don't think about continuing in glory. Glory will also be out of luck." Chen Tao also threatened. Zhang Chen forcefully pushed with his palm. Zheng Guodong's body couldn't bear the weight and fell on his butt. Scram! Zhang Chen roared. He really couldn't beat up an outsider in Glory Martial Arts School. If he did that, he wouldn't be able to continue as an instructor, and Glory Martial Arts School would also have to bear responsibility. The school's principal treated him like a brother, so he couldn't harm his own brother. Li Yang and Chen Tao hurriedly ran over to help Zheng Guodong up. Zheng Guodong swung his finger that was about to deform and looked at Zhang Chen with a venomous gaze. He brought his 2 followers and ran towards the school gate. "Sick," they scolded from afar. Zhang Chen sneered and said, "You guys are the sick ones. And quite sick." A few martial arts school students ran over and asked, "Instructor, where did those 3 brats come from? They dared to challenge the instructor?" "3 patients," Zhang Chen said with a disdainful expression. "A bunch of spineless weaklings." "Junior martial uncle, haven't we found a job yet?" Fang Yingying stood behind Fang Yan and asked. "Why don't we let the hero go out and eat glass? He likes to eat it anyway." Fang Yan was busy brewing today's medicinal soup. After hearing Fang Yingying's words, he smiled and said, "Don't be anxious. Today this medicinal soup will be delivered. Tomorrow you 2 will have a job." "Really?" Fang Yingying didn't believe him at all. "What does finding a job have to do with delivering medicinal soup?" "Giving gifts," Fang Yan said proudly. "Other people give gifts with good cigarettes, wine, ginseng and cordyceps, but we just need to give a bowl of medicinal soup. Simple and cheap, warm and practical. That woman will definitely be moved by me. Once she's happy, you 2 will have a job." "Women outside are so gullible," Fang Yingying exclaimed. "Gullible? Why not? Do you think all women are like Yi Ro, as sly as a 1,000-year-old fox, hitting people and hurting people's self-esteem?" Fang Yan got angry at the mention of Yi Ro. He couldn't wait to appear in front of him and get beaten up. No, it's better not to appear in front of him. Women outside are silly and stupid. They believe whatever you say. They're so moved by a little kindness that they cry and laugh, wishing they could repay you with their bodies. If it weren't for Junior Martial Uncle's strong willpower and my unfulfilled dreams and ambitions, I might have been taken by them and lived a peaceful life with a wife and children. The kind of women that you're talking about, who are stupid and will believe anything you say, who will be moved to tears and laughter at the same time, wishing to repay you with their bodies. Does that include me?" A cold voice suddenly came from behind him. Fang Yan turned around and saw Lu Chaoga, who was wearing a pair of blue jeans, a white t-shirt and a black knitted sweater, standing at the door of the kitchen with a sneer on her face. Oh, Fang Yan's expression suddenly changed. "Is the medicine ready?" Lu Chaoga asked. After drinking the medicinal soup sent by Fang Yan for 2 consecutive days, Lu Chaoga's throat inflammation and cough were almost cured. According to Fang Yan, she would be completely cured after drinking it for another 2 days. Besides, the medicine soup could remove some toxins in her body, which was good for her body. However, Fang Yan sent medicine to Lu Chaoga in the early morning for 2 consecutive days, which attracted some criticism in the office of the administration building. There were even rumors that they were in love. Otherwise, what important things did a teacher have to report to the vice principal? Did they have to meet in the office every morning? Lu Chaoga didn't go directly to the office of the administration building today. Instead, she went to the small courtyard that she lent to Fang Yan. She wanted to take away all the medicine before Fang Yan went out. In this way, she could avoid the need for Fang Yan to go to the office to send medicine to her, and eliminate the speculation about their relationship. Unexpectedly, she happened to hear Fang Yan's wise words at the door of the kitchen. Was her behavior so retarded during this period of time? Did she become a heavenly idiot in his eyes? Done. Fang Yen swallowed a mouthful of saliva and nodded. Lu Chaoga handed over the thermos flask in her hand and said, "Give it to me." Fang Yen deftly poured out the medicine in the crock and carefully poured it into the thermos flask. Lu Chaoga took the thermos flask and turned to leave. That. Fang Yen felt that he should explain. No need to explain. Lu Chaoga said without turning her head. All your explanations are just to cover up. Clang. The wooden door of the small courtyard was closed by Lu Chaoga. Fang Yen walked in front of Fang Yingying and said, "Slap me. Junior Marshal Uncle." Fang Yingying looked at Fang Yen with great shock. "Are you all right? Don't you want to beat such a cheap person?" Fang Yen asked. "Junior Marshal Uncle. I can't do it. I'm used to it." Fang Yen waved at Fang Haohen, who was in the middle of the courtyard. Fang Haohen with a poker face walked in front of Fang Yen in a few steps. "How did she get in?" Fang Yen asked. "She walked in." Fang Haohen answered honestly. "I'm asking how she walked in." Fang Yen was angry. He pointed at the door of the courtyard and said, "Does she know Qinggong or can she walk through walls?" "Neither." Fang Haohen shook his head with a serious expression. "She walked in. You opened the door for her, didn't you?" Fang Yen had to make the question clearer. This guy didn't understand the subtext of his words at all. "Yes." Fang Haohen nodded. "Then why didn't you tell me? You let a strange woman into our courtyard for no reason? Weren't you afraid that she would do something dangerous to us?" Fang Haohen thought for a moment and said, "She can't beat us." Knock knock knock. Someone knocked on the wooden door of the small courtyard. Fang Yen was stunned for a moment and quickly rushed over. He opened the door and said, "Principal Lu, listen to my explanation." "Baldy, why are you standing at the door sneakily?" Baldy felt very wronged and explained, "I'm just standing at the door. I'm not sneaky." He took out a paper card that looked like an invitation and handed it over. He said, "This is a letter of challenge from someone else." Fang Yen turned around and said, "Just say you didn't see me." You're tuning in to the Zhou Xian's Legacy YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.